from Atlanta. The players are here, the stage is set. Let's get down for esports!
This is where we also talk about the new stuff that we've got coming out for you all.
Look, HRX is literally my favorite time of year. It truly isn't close. This is what I live for.
It's that second place. I can't wait to see what first place is.
It's HRX.
Welcome to the SMITE Pro League. I'll be your host, Tom Battinger, today, and for the first half of the day, I'll be joined here by Ryan Agro Bailey. We've got a slew of exciting matches coming up for you. Hi-Rez Expo is where everybody's going to be fighting for. HiResExpo.com, and if you want to see how teams are getting there, we'll take a look at it in just a moment. As I said, my co-caster, Agro, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty well, man. Excited to get back into the SPL. We're only a couple weeks left in this phase, so these games very, very important. Now, these teams are locked. PK is going to Hi-Rez Expo, and LG is going to placement weeks, but seeding very, very important for both of these teams.
Let's take a look at how that all shakes up. Phase 2, that's what we're in right now. As Ryan said, we're sort of on the twilight of it here. Week number 10 of a possible 13 weeks of play. It's Thursday, so that means we're banging it out. The top 6 teams will auto-qualify for SMITE World Championship. We'll take a look at those teams in just a moment. But then, of course, we move on to placement week. It's 10-team double elimination. This is for everybody that doesn't auto-qualify. And then we're playing best of 3s. It'll be some of the Pro League, some of the Minor League, and some of the Console League.
It's gonna be a blast, man. A midseason invitational was a great preview to what those types of games will look like, and they were way more competitive than I think a lot of us thought.
5 out of 6 of those slots have been claimed. You can see right there, Rival, Renegades, Pittsburgh Knights, E-United, and Dignitas all have punched their ticket to the big show. Splice and SK Gaming are still trying to fight it out, and we'll see where that number 6 spot goes. Obey, LG, and of course, Space Station Gaming have definitely solidified themselves on the lower ends. As I said, for 2 of those teams, the going is still right there. Team Rival and SK. We'll take a look at these guys a little bit later. Everything on the line for SK Gaming.
Must-win game for them. They still don't control their own destiny, though, and they've got a really tough matchup today up against Team Rival. I think the big thing today, the big story of today is definitely going to be LG versus PK, because this is the new look Pittsburgh Knights. This is the first time we're getting a chance to see them without zeros in that mid lane, with Deathwalker moving over to that mid lane and Rowe filling his shoes. I think this is a big test for PK, and they've got to see if they can match it.
Filling his shoes is a large statement, so large that I'm going to leave it right there. Let's talk about LG. These guys certainly have improved throughout the regular season. A lot of roster changes here. We really got a chance to see Lasbra and Joshy stand up this season, though. Lasbra started in what I consider to be an unfortunate spot. He was moved to an unnatural position and asked to perform at a level that was just kind of unfair here in his natural jungle. That's where he lit up the stage last year, and he's really looked clean.
A lot of these 2 old Insignia members have looked great so far in Joshy and Lasbra, but I think also Xalia's resurgence as a player that you have to really respect in these team fights is something that's really helped out LG quite a bit. I mean, yes, the addition of Snoopy and Eonic were huge. I think both of those guys have played really, really well. That's enabled Lasbra and Joshy to be the guys, but also Xalia's play has enabled Lasbra a lot in a lot of these team fights. He's created a ton of space for this backline dive, and I think that looking at Xaliea today is going to be critical, because he has the best lane matchup in the new Rowe. I mean, Rowe, we don't know how comfortable he'll be. We don't know what he's really going to bring to that role. This is where Xaliea has to prove that he is a cut above the next level of solo laners, right? I mean, you have to prove that you are a true top SPL talent.
I mean, Xaliea, one of the players that has been tried and true for this team. Like I said, a number of different swaps. Xaliea been here from the jump, and so he's been looking more solidified in this role. As you said, perhaps a mismatch over there on the short side, and we're definitely expecting Xaliea to kind of take advantage of it, because that's where everybody's going to be looking. Deathwalker, solo lane extraordinaire. Maybe not this year, which is part of the conversation. Sure. Deathwalker shifts over to mid because Zeros has left the team. The squad has decided to walk away from their award-winning mid laner and put Deathwalker into the mid lane and replace that short side with Rowe. Now, for those that have not followed the threads, Rowe is an ex-competitive player. Played once upon a time for LG Direwolves in that solo lane, has some sort of mentality as far as how to play the game. Even going all the way back, for those that have played high ranked on NA servers, he was able to do it there as well. The big question, though, man, SMITE Pro League, such a different world than what it once was.
Completely.
Frankly, will he stand up?
Yeah, it's a completely different world for sure. I mean, you mentioned Rowe's competitive experience. He was a premier jungler in the Australian League. I mean, he had a lot of experience there. He's been a coach for this PK team for a while now, so you know he synergizes well with these guys. And I think that's the most important thing, right?
Agreed.
It's not his mechanical skill necessarily. That is going to be put to the test, and that's unproven as of right now. It's really all about how well can he mesh with these guys, how well can the team behind the scenes feel like they're going to perform, because that was a large reason. You listen to their interviews, you watch the videos, that was a large reason why they decided to make this change. And so that part has to be clean. The rest, it will come, it'll take some time, it won't be right away. The rest has to be clean.
I like the position that Rowe's going to be playing as well over there on the solo side. As you saw, he's a coach. He's coming. He's sat here in an analyst position. I've even casted analyst in his own Australian world with this guy. He knows the game insides and out, and being able to sit in that solo lane and allow the game to sort of develop around you. I'm not saying give this guy chalk, throw an accent on your tower, but you can play a passive game in that lane.
Sure.
Let it develop, and then just be able to shot call, be able to call the game, and have the action sort of come to you.
Pretty different, though, to be that sixth guy, listening to the comms and coming in after the game and trying to help the team, and then being actually in the battle with them. I think this is going to be a really big test. I'm excited to see what PK is able to do. And this is, I think, a very good test for them, because LG is a team they should be favored against, but not massively so. LG's been playing very well as of late. You know this team has a lot of potential, so I'm excited to see what new look PK has to offer.
Jumping right into it. Let the beat drop, baby. Different bands coming out here. Olorun and Thor, pretty standard. Isis also. Players just working their way down the tier list. These characters have been overwhelmingly strong. Olorun, worth noting, the ultimate is overwhelmingly strong, and we've seen players kind of play into it. Persephone, also not going to be available today. The newest mage banned out.
And now LG has the choice. I mean, they can just take something away that they don't want PK to play that isn't necessarily top of the tier list. Right now, second pick, I think, is at a huge disadvantage. You leave open a lot of things that are really strong. LG don't ban Amma, Persephone, or Isis. PK has to do all that in an immediate set lock for LG. And I love this pick. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be the Xaliea type of god. He could probably play it, and that might be the play, right? Put pressure on Rowe to be able to play against one of the best gods in the game. But how about giving this over to my man Snoopy? I mean, he carried games with this on Armada in the long lane. I think he could do just as well in the mid lane. I think that you really have great 1v1 potential. Now, in mid, you don't get 1v1s very often.
Sure.
But I think that giving this over to Joshy in the long lane, or giving it to Xaliea in the short lane, or Snoopy, I think basically anywhere but jungle or support, I'm cool with this. Set can still play jungle. He's an assassin.
Yeah, definitely.
He can do it. I just think his laning phase is so good, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to take him out of that.
Jormungandr and Anhur here selected by Pittsburgh Knights. And I got to agree with the first thing that you said with respect to Xaliea playing the set. Xaliea made it years and years ago on playing Bakasura and Kali solo. Set solo speaks to him, and yeah, if Xalia's going to have any matchup that he feels confident eating, it's going to be Rowe, the guy that's stepping in here for Deathwalker. So I like the idea of the set solo. That opens up a world of Serqet and Thoth to more malleable characters.
I like this for LG. I mean, their draft is pretty open still with set Serqet. You know Eonic has Serqet in the God pool. He's played it a decent amount this year. The Khepri pick does concern me a little bit if I'm LG. I mean, Khepri's super strong and fits that same identity of the Geb that they banned away, but it is certainly something that they can still play around a little bit better. Final Judgment's so good. I love playing these gods that can really hit from a distance or hit in an AoE against Khepri, because it makes it so the threat of Scarab's Blessing isn't quite as scary. And I think Thoth is the perfect character for that, because you can hit from such a long range. Even if Khepri dashes away, you just tell your team to pop it as you're charging your Final Judgment, and you can knock down that person who just got revived pretty much instantly.
Pittsburgh Knights have a decent draft themselves across the way. Despite all of the range, Jormungandr, Khepri are both characters that can sort of phase 2 a team fight, right? You go ahead, things don't go your way, back off. Res that guy, ult out, and then go right back in. Anhur can really cut things with a nice pillar placement. So Pittsburgh Knights, I think, have a couple of different tools to disrupt what LG are looking for, which is largely single target at the moment. Second round bans done. Pittsburgh Knights ban 2 Guardians, and LG ban away 2 carries, 1 for the jungle, 1 for the lane.
And with these 2 Guardian bans, LG might just flex the Serqet into support for Eonic and get something else for Lasbra. Pele is something that he's played a lot of this year that might be a little bit more viable here. That just have that early game pressure, really good against the Jormungandr, because that eruption will slow him and make him take some more damage. Yep. Very hard for him to get away from you.
Ooh, the hard carry for Mr. Adapting. Mercury, baby. Pittsburgh Knights here enabling their king in the jungle. Love one of these picks. I mean, really, the analysis here is pretty short. Mercury, hard carry, adapting. He's going to look to punch people. That's the whole thing, up and down.
Not bad, I don't think. Not bad at all. So with Thoth and Chernobog, this tells me the set is going to go either in the jungle or in that short lane. It looks like it's going to be solo, because Cabrakan certainly a pick for Lasbra. He's played this quite a bit. Excellent against the Mercury. And this Anhur selection for PK, it's kind of been on the board. Haven't talked about it a whole lot. I think it was a flex pick. Do we want this to go to Deathwalker? Do we want this to go to Vote? And with this mage hovering, looks like it could still be Poseidon in the long lane. It could still be Vote playing that, but seems more likely to me that this Poseidon pick is going to be for Deathwalker.
Yeah, you think it's going to be Poseidon mid?
Yeah, I do.
There's a world where we see... It's funny, because these days I just think of Anhur as a mid laner, more so than long lane. I think Mercury and Poseidon are the conversations. Does Mercury play long lane like Snoopy did once upon a time? We've seen a lot of the assassins over there, and Poseidon in the jungle, jokes aside, we have seen recently, and it's been doing work. There's a lot going on for Pittsburgh that I think could be malleable here. LG, I think, is a little bit more cut and dry. With that said, what's your take?
I love LG's draft. I think it's all centered around wherever this Poseidon goes, whether it's for Deathwalker or for Vote over there in the long lane. You've got to be consistent with those whirlpools, because you need those cripples for Set, Serqet, Thoth, and Chernobog, all those gods, but it's very vulnerable to Cabrakan. Cabrakan doesn't care at all about your whirlpool. He's going to lock you in. He's going to one-shot you. It's a difficult game here for Poseidon. How well can EmilZy keep this Poseidon safe, and how good are those whirlpools going to be? Kraken, sure. I'm more worried about the whirlpools.
We'll see who executes on the field and who gets executed. Pittsburgh Knights, Luminosity Gaming, game number 1.
Thanks so much, F. Dot and Aggro on the desk. Yes, LG up against Pittsburgh Knights is what we've got on the card today. And let's see where everyone goes. I thought it was going to be Toli. It's going to be that set in the solo lane here. Looks like Luminosity want to try and test Rowe in this solo lane early on.
As they really should. He is the newcomer. He hasn't played competitively for a long time, taking that coaching role. So it's very important to have not only the aggressive set in the solo lane, but aggressive jungler, Cabrakan for Lasbra, even opting for Blink at level 1. There needs to be some pressure around that level 2, level 3 marker before Rowe gets too tanky.
Very excited about these compositions then and what we're going to see today. Big game for Pittsburgh Knights to show that the reason they dropped zeros is a bonus for them. But this is the first set, the first real test for them. Luminosity Gaming, someone a little bit lower in the standings, and have a lot to prove themselves.
Outside of Space Station Gaming, this is probably the best opponent I think Pittsburgh Knights can ease into with their recent roster swap. But instead of even starting the speed buff, Lasbra's in the long lane?
Snoopy under pressure, gets abducted by EmilZy, but did not panic and use the beats. Deathwalker would have landed that impale. Snoopy's health bar would have been a lot lower down. Wouldn't have been a kill, I don't think. But in the long lane, as you were saying, you saw the rotation at Lasbra looking for pressure onto Vote, and now they're invading the purple buff. Speed is still available for LG on their own half of the map, as Pittsburgh Knights now look to invade the red buff.
Eonic trying to harass and just delay the blue buff on the solo lane side. Red buff actually getting in PK's pressure in the mid lane. This is why we're seeing the difference between the blue buff for Eonic, the red buff for EmilZy. I think this does favor PK though. At the end of the day, there's the purple buff that they can also strip away, but it looks like their speed buff is the point of contention instead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they know speed buff's up yet. They might just be going for those back harpies at the time being, as Eonic pays some attention to this solo lane. I guess in the early game, he's going to need a little bit of help, but Vote is going to get ganked on this left-hand side. Already under pressure, great tidal wave to knock Lasbra away and force the Tremors down, but the chase is still on, and a beautiful beads will keep him up momentarily. In the jungle, however, 3-man rotation from Knights does punish Eonic, and that could be a bit of an answer back.
Rowe is 3 seconds away from getting first blood, being introduced into the SPL. Vote not going to give him any kind of credit or reward after that. How could he?
Speed buff does end up going out to Snoopy, funny enough, at the end of that. But LG, as you said, did get the first blood there. However, when you look at the gold differential between the two, it doesn't even look like there was a first blood bonus.
Definitely not much. PK getting at least one of those Totem of Coups. They stripped away a red buff, as they only lost really that blue buff. Not the end of the world. Also purple buff, as Lasbra hasn't really been farming too much the way we expected to. And speaking of the way he's starting the lane, there is no Assassin's Blessing for him. It's a double Guardian Blessing start for the quote-unquote jungle Cabrakan.
Yeah, well, you also mentioned you saw Adapting didn't even start with a blessing himself. He just went with tier 2 boots at the beginning of this game. Weaken was kind of the leader in the Pro League of not picking up this blessing, and it looks like more junglers are also agreeing with that statement.
This is kind of weird, because like Weaken at one point doesn't pick up a blessing, and Lasbra, on the other hand, playing a different kind of blessing style. So
I think Guardian's Blessing is really strong anyway.
GP5, yeah, the gold per minute rather, is a good way to start elevating yourself, as long as you think that you might not need too much health sustain in the jungle.
Looks like Pittsburgh Knights going back towards this red buff for an invade. Vote on the rotation, but Eonic spots him out. Good little pressure. No beads, remember, for Vote, and that's stun from Joshy. Just sets Lasbra up for a quick blinking kill. Red buff is stolen by the Knights, but they lose a bit of a fight and could be pressured more as Deathwalker, trying to rotate back to the safety of his own half of the map, gets picked, and now EmilZy's in trouble too.
Just like one by one, the lambs to the slaughter. The pathing after the red buff was just curious to me. Vote rotating towards the red buff. It looked as though PK already had that secured. He had no business being there in the first place. And then once Deathwalker tried to get there a little bit closer to save Vote, or maybe at least get a revenge kill, he used a jump to get closer. Normally you don't want to do that unless it's a guaranteed play. And as a level 3 on her, you're not getting most guaranteed plays. And then afterwards, it's already been a 3rd kill for LG after that skirmish. I'll lose my red buff for 3 kills. Why not?
Funny enough, I think the path in there will hold out Eonic. Pressure and Adapting. It's going to get him to dash away again so he doesn't continue to invade in the jungle there. But that pathing from Vote, he may have just been out-rotated in the jungle and pinched, so he wanted to walk towards his team is what I was potentially thinking there. Maybe not. End of the day, still another kill for Joshy, who's been involved in all 4 now. 3 kills and a Thoth in the early game. He's going to start swinging a lot sooner than some of these players may expect.
I definitely agree with you there, Hindu man. It's look at this difference of the stacking as well. 22 stacks ahead of Vote because of those 2 deaths. That's about 2 minutes worth of farming that you're going to have access to 10% cooldown reduction that you can start continuing to be a bully. Vote struggling thus far in the long lane, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, Joshy come for the tiny trinket option now after the Shoes of Focus, so go for a little bit more cooldown as you'd expect. But the tiny trinket means he's probably going to lean towards that Pythagorean's piece we've seen so much of this year.
Definitely going to get that. You want to get more CDR, especially when Thoth synergizes very well with that Hieroglyphic Assault. If you are accurate enough to hit all 3, you're resetting the cooldowns already enough as it is. So 30% CDR. I'm probably expecting maybe purple pots sooner rather than later to finish that off.
Some pressure on this right-hand side as LG look to invade the blue and are successful with that, trying to strip that away. First time we've seen Lasbra on this side of the map, but EmilZy on the rotation here. Only level 4, but the route should be good to pin Lasbra in place. Walls dropped down by Lasbra. Safer than sorry there.
A little surprised to see the defensive ultimate. I don't hate it though.
No.
Despite Eonic being right around the corner of the blue buff in case things popped off, there would have been a 3-on-2 situation. I almost would have liked to see a bait.
Lincoln adapting, but Eonic going to follow up to protect Snoopy. Snoopy dashing the wall to avoid the root, but Eonic can't do the same thing against the Abduct. And that's Deathwalker's first kill in the mid lane position. Knights answering back.
Great timing from EmilZy. The Abduct catches the Serqet. No beats available and only level 4, so it doesn't have access to the last breath. PK lost their blue buff earlier on. They're going to get revenge, though, with this one pick. This is a team that is always going to be looking for objectives after those small kills.
It looks like the pressure towards Rowe in the early game isn't really there. I mean, it's Jormungandr, right? It's hard to really pressure him too much. His wave clear's a little bit better than that of Sets in the early stages. There will be a time, though, where this lane matchup changes.
I agree. The Kingslayer after level 9 becomes harder to deal with, but the build of Rowe has been pretty good already before boots. The Jade Emperor's Crown to reduce your physical power by 30 is going to limit some of that kill potential coming through from Xaliea set.
Seen a little bit of the Jade Emperor's Crown now and again, not too much, though. But it is a coach that's stepping into the role, and coaches generally do look at all the items pretty much in detail as well to be like, hang on a second, this has been slept on.
As you should, honestly. Like, you have to min-max, whether it's like your effective health optimization at every stage of the game or your DPS at every stage of the game.
Well, we mentioned the Assassin's Blessing not being picked up by the junglers. Look at what happened with Adaptin here. After completing his full boots, he did actually go back and pick up that Blessing. It does give you some stats that are useful. You know, bit of sustain is always impactful.
It's not bad, and more importantly is like you're going to get that 5% movement speed and 5 penetration once it does evolve, and Mercury's passive.
Mercury,
yeah, you want to get that movement speed so you hit a little bit harder.
One thing to remember about Mercury, never jump, even though you want to.
That's true.
You don't stack your passive.
Yeah.
It's one of the... Jump doesn't really have an interaction or shouldn't have an interaction in the game.
It's because his feet aren't moving in the air. His feet just need to be moving.
What about we change the animation so it keeps moving? You're like he's just jumping, running on the spot in the air really quick.
It's all right. I'll just take him on a night out on a Saturday, and then he'll be moving.
Oh, we always do. When you end up trying to force us out to go dancing to. Gold Fury could be available here for Knights. There's a lot of grouping on this left-hand side. 4 members strong. But they're actually just going to look for these left-hand harpies here. There was no real pressure available. I guess with Vote having the purple to be taken too, he wanted to prioritize that for a moment or two. Is there a clock in this game at all for Pittsburgh Knights in terms of when they ramp up, or does that get matched out by this set with the Mercury versus set situation?
I think Mercury will heavily outcarry the set potential. You can easily dash away with your special delivery once things get dicey, whereas set needs to use the Sandstorm offensively in conjunction with the Kingslayer. So once set is in, he's in, right? Like, so you need to use your Blink as a set so that you can Sandstorm away. So I'm kind of curious to see that late game matchup. I think that Pittsburgh Knights should have the favorable late game, absolutely, especially once adapting already. Working for a Rage, Tier 2 started now. He wants to get those stacks sooner rather than later.
Yeah, 500 gold separating the two teams as it stands for now. Right, and Harpies have spawned. A bit of contest here will be available. But at the moment, it's all about farming. I'm excited to see what Snoopy can do in this Chernobog this game. I actually asked for this pick because I like the rotational ability that can come from this mid lane position to both duo and the right-hand side and try and answer what PK want to do this game.
I like the patience there from LG, realizing that PK had the numbers and even the other 2 PK members waiting for adapting.
Ooh. Joshy looking for a cheeky steal more than anything else towards that red buff. It looks like he may have been successful. Not 100% sure there. Adapting though under pressure as Eonic dashes in, looks for the ultimate and gets it. Walls came down from Lasbra at the same time, but Adapting didn't get as much damage as I expected. EmilZy though will at least get him revived, but the damage afterwards was good. There just wasn't any more shots available.
If only Joshy had his final judgment there instead of trying to strip away that red buff. Now, it was secured by PK. Vote didn't want to pick it up. Deathwalker was the one candidate. You want to have pressure mid, give the red buff to the Anhur. Great play from Eonic, but this pick for EmilZy is so valuable because of how aggressive LG is by nature and their draft. That Scarab's Blessing, without any sort of executes to worry about, is going to go the distance.
If I remember correctly, right, Serqet poison from the ultimate passes through the Khepri ult when you respawn. You still have it on you.
Possibly.
I believe you do. And that's my only concern with this composition here is, like, sure, EmilZy might be able to res a teammate.
Sure.
But if that teammate's got the Serqet last breath on him, then he's going to bring it to the Khepri that could potentially spread it if he dies afterwards.
It's possible, but here's the thing. It's like, even if you get killed by the first tick of last breath, by the time you revive, I don't think that's enough damage to kill you anyway, but you will be dangerously low once you revive.
Well, with that as it stands now, right, Harpy spawning again. A lot of contest around these mid-Harpies. It's a bit of a throwback, I would say, towards previous seasons of SMITE. We don't see as much focus in the past few, but at the moment, just making sure we can control these is good. Adapting maybe pinched here. Still has no beads available as he went for the blink, but Snoopy caught out of position there, got pinched from behind. Him and Eonic were trying to combine there, and it worked out favorably for the Pittsburgh Knights.
I mean, who's doing the pinching? Is it adapting or is it actually Snoopy? Because I saw PK's kill potential there without Snoopy having the purification beads. And this is a team, PK, that heavily looks for the farm until a kill just kind of naturally develops. They didn't force that kill onto Snoopy. Snoopy stepped out of position on the right side without those defensive relics, and PK just got gifted a kill.
And now PK just pressuring mid a little bit more. Continue to chip away at that tower with Deathwalker on this Anhur. Still hasn't got his Transcendence finished yet, but that's to be expected. You can see Snoopy still trying to match pace on that right hand, in the middle lane, I should say. So we tune to the right hand side. That fight, I don't think will go anywhere unless the jungler turns up. Lasbra maybe with a good ult on Eonic. That's him under so much pressure from Eonic too. It will pop the ultimate, but when he regens, he could still be in trouble. The poison will spread. And EmilZy goes down too. Beautiful rotations out of Joshy, by the way. That's twice I've seen him get over to this lane, and no sign of vote.
He's all over the place, and for good measure, honestly, with 4-0-2 slash line, you have so much mobility with your evade punish, and you have extra CDR to use that from your lane into the jungle side. And this has been Mercury's downfall, is whenever you're trapped against walls. Adapting couldn't get out of that one, and even EmilZy getting trapped in the wall, so he couldn't separate that distance to help Adapting survive a little bit longer.
Yeah, I do like the Cabrakan pick here coming out from LG. It does make quite an impact in these fights, more so than you'd expect. Rowe, for example, on the Jormungandr, the walls really do limit him to have to be forced to ult sometimes, as he won't be able to escape the area. Same can be said for Mercury, and of course, vote on the Poseidon. Well, he's got the Whirlpool and Kraken. He's going to have to use them defensively probably if he gets caught by those.
And can we take a look at the net worth? I'm curious to see how this Cabrakan with the Guardian's Blessing has translated thus far. About 600, 500, 600 gold above Adapting's Mercury. And
well,
that
might, involved,
yeah,
though.
that might not necessarily be the Blessing because of that slash line, so it's really hard to tell.
Well, the Blessing does give you gold when it is fully evolved, and I think that's the one thing you can always factor in. For sure on that.
48 gold a minute.
Yeah, well, he's also a flat gold when it evolves, if I remember correctly. But he's 4 gold per 5 seconds, which adds up, and 3 gold per minion. 3 gold is what the Guardian's Blessing is.
That's really good.
Yeah,
just from the assists alone.
Yeah.
But like, even if you're not getting those assists, just to have 48 extra gold per minute, not a bad thing as well. When games are lasting 30+ minutes, and you can easily probably sell your boots to replace that with the Swiftness Potion while still keeping your Guardian Blessing depending on the situation.
Tight game so far in this first one. Only 13 minutes in. I still couldn't tell you who's in the lead in this. It's balancing on a knife edge for now. Snoopy and Eonic combining well in the jungle. If you notice, these two are the two sticking together on LG. They've let Lasbra really roam around quite freely to the duo lane at the start of the game, flowing towards solo, and then every now and again when he appears in mid, so does Joshy.
Eonic is like the pendulum that's swinging for LG from solo to the mid lane. Not so much the long lane because it's Joshy that's the other pendulum swinging through into the mid lane, as we're seeing Joshy and Lasbra a part of every single kill from LG, really abusing the transgression from Pittsburgh Knights. When they invaded the red buff, they got punished the one time. When they tried to go for the tier 1 mid tower, they were a little bit overextended, not necessarily necessary, or needed rather, for that tower. You could wait on it a little bit longer.
I get what you mean. Now, though, left on Harpy's going to go down. Level 12 is available now for Snoopy to go back and get his second relic. Same can be said for Deathwalker. And as we get to the second relic stage, that's where the team fights will start to break out a little bit more so, specifically around that Gold Fury. Joshy, though, at level 15, been involved in every single kill so far, is still around equal level with Voe, and I guess that comes down to the sharing we've seen a little bit of the farm from LG.
That's very true. Every time Joshy rotates, there's about 3, sometimes 4 members, blue jerseys in that mid lane, sharing one wave. Vote not rotating around, so he's going to fully benefit from that. Not only that, his 2 devs were at, what, that level 3, level 4 marker, so you're not losing too much farm when you have 8 to 12 second respawn timer.
Starting to get to that point, though, where these solo laners could come into play. And speaking of the solo laners, they're matching pace with the duo laners. It's mainly been the duo laners that have been ahead in farm overall this year. But with those solo laners still equal level, they're both going to bring a bit of something different from this lane.
And that's why Xaliea is transitioning into a more utility team style build. Going for the runic shield, he wants to lower the magical power of Vote, Rowe, and even EmilZy by 50. And on top of that, going to go for the Void Shield instead of just more of a glass cannon style to help out maybe Eonic with some damage, and more importantly, Snoopy on this Chernobog. That is the late game win condition, is the backline from LG. That's how it's been this whole entire year. It's Snoopy and it's Josh.
And the funny thing is, Xaliea is going to be an additional threat on the set, but he'll get a lot of attention paid to him by the Pittsburgh Knights because it is a set pick. Very high skill cap god, but very powerful in the right situation. Talk about the right situation. Vote's not in one of those right now as the clap hands from Lasbra swing in. Eonic did most of the work there to set up that opportunity that now may become a Gold Fury.
Vote was a little bit too hesitant on using those purification beads. EmilZy should be fine seeing how Eonic doesn't have that ultimate, but Rowe is here.
Good knock up on 2 targets. Eonic took a ton of damage from the Desert Fury into the sky though as the damage comes through. Eonic is going to try and slip out through the nest, adapting, did get the ult early from EmilZy there, and the final judgment just couldn't find a home. Rowe doing great work on the back though to distract the LG boys and whittle down the health bars. He just needs some more backup. But remember, Vote not involved in this fight. He died beforehand. So this was the Knights taking a 4v5, defending the Gold Fury and finding a kill.
Very successful. The accuracy of Deathwalker's Desert Fury, the lining up of the Sonic Boom was all perfect, I think. To only find 1 kill onto Eonic, a little surprising there, but they got what they needed, which was to delay LG from getting this Gold Fury, and I think that it actually could be PK now starting it up.
We'll see what they choose to do here. Vote on the way back to lane now. Purple buff is available. Red is spawning. Not really the best window for Knights to look for that gold when they've got things up in their own jungle to farm first of all. Vote's just going to turn up, try and get some wards down real quick. He was back in base, as we said, so at least he comes back with a sentry to get control of that Gold Fury area for PK.
And considering Vote died with both of his relics up, in this next team fight, he'll be very safe, and I'm expecting him not to hesitate next time Eonic goes on him. That was a little bit of a test, I think, just to burn the defensive relics, but Eonic was like, wait a second, you're not going to use your relics? I'm going to throw you to my teammates for them to clean up. Good blink secure from Lasbra, and you got to respect that damage. This is a Cabrakan. It doesn't matter if he has Guardian's Blessing or not. Just popping the 1 steroid and a little bit of extra damage on the 2 on a squishy Poseidon, you're just going to die.
You're talking about testing in this game, and that's what I'm looking at towards Deathwalker and Rowe to see how they've been doing. That was the first team fight we really saw with all the members involved. I think they both played that pretty well.
I agree. It was very important for Deathwalker to line up the ultimate the way he did. Rowe zoning perfectly with the Thorns, the Stone of Binding helping out kill Snoopy with the CCs, working on Ethereal Staff as well to make it a little easier to kill some of these tanky targets.
It's going to be Gem is going to go for it instead, so the extra slows come into play a little bit more so. I definitely think it's debatable whether you can go Ethereal or Gem. I think they're both useful on Jormungandr. Just brings a different bit of flavor to both. And I personally like Gem because of the poison sprays on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
They just linger for so long. It's just a consistent slow.
Those toxic clouds make it easier to siege and easier to defend those Phoenixes once it does get to that late game. So a great pickup that we don't see very often, but when you can squeeze it in, that usually means that you have plenty of front-loaded damage elsewhere.
Difference is, though, LG, there's multiple members been involved in every kill. Eonic blinking on EmilZy, catches the abduct with the ult of his own. Now EmilZy forced to ult himself, but a cracker was huge from Vote, and Eonic is removed from the game. Xaliea and Snoopy to the back line, looking at EmilZy. EmilZy getting low. Now he pops his ult, I should say. Defensively, Eonic falls down. EmilZy will survive. LG fall back towards the Gold Fury, but with all the ultimates being down, I don't see an attempt happening soon.
But there's also 2 ultimates from PK, both globals, the World Serpent and Sonic Boom. I'm surprised that they're not grouping up and using a 5-on-4 to their advantage instead. They're probably going to go for the Pyromancer, a very small objective that they can guarantee. As long as they can defend Gold Fury and squeeze in Pyromancer, that's how you can build a small lead.
Completely agree. I think that was a really good call, and I think also Rowe still having that World Serpent available there. If they did start up the Gold Fury again, then LG
oh my goodness,
could have been an opportunity. Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? Pittsburgh Knights have just sniffed out a possibility of a free fire giant on this right-hand side. Lasbra realized there was some sort of danger, but it was too little too late. Pittsburgh Knights with a fantastic call there, pre-20-minute FG.
That was very impressive. This is a good sign to see Pittsburgh Knights making that kind of a call to neglect the Gold Fury because the DPS is starting to show. Adapting, has 2 stacks on the Rage with the Deathbringer. As long as somebody's tanking it for him, Yeah, LG couldn't stop it. Final Judgment was down. In fact, every ultimate was down, so Snoopy couldn't even get in there with a Living Nightmare.
Gold Fury's getting low. Joshy's trying to get into that pit to try and cause a problem. He recognized some potential danger, but nobody else on LG is even around, and that's left Joshy on his own. The up down from the World Serpent doing good work, and the stab route from EmilZy sets it up, but Joshy slips the news with a lovely little dash there.
Oh.
Poison will slow that opportunity down, though. Sonic Boom from Adapting doesn't hit, but the special delivery afterwards does. Kraken onto Eonic didn't do a whole lot of damage. He'll ambush away, but Pittsburgh Knights are starting to turn the pace of the game in their favor. They get a Gold Fury, they get a Tier 1 tower, they kill Joshy, and Rowe's going to head back to base to defend the right-hand side, it looks.
He does have teleport, so Snoopy will have to retreat with that Living Nightmare sooner rather than later. The slows from Gem of Isolation, not impactful quite yet, and without that teleport from Rowe, it's going to be about a 4-on-3 on the left side. Living Nightmare from Snoopy still being held on to. PK got a very important pick onto Joshy. Yep. Without that Hieroglyphic Assault, those Phoenixes and Towers become a little bit easier to siege, but you don't want to do it without a wave regardless.
Good work though from Pittsburgh Knights overall. Rowe just going to check if there was anyone around the Gold Fury pit is what actually initiated that whole situation. Snoopy under pressure, has to use his ultimate. He's actually going to go all the way over to say hello to Rowe, but Rowe was ready for him there.
That was cute.
Straight away, nice little up down with knock-up came into play. Snoopy will be fine, and Lasbra on this right-hand side. Level 17 and 15 versus the level 20 solo laner Rowe. I don't think we want to take it on this Serpent just yet.
Good start from Rowe in this first game. He needs that kind of a start, I think, for the rest of the set. A little bit of a confidence boost, and even the calls from PK has been phenomenal. It's been a slow, methodical game in terms of the offensive demonstration from PK, but they know when they can squeeze in those objectives. Between the 5 of them, they have so much competitive experience combined, so they know what they can or can't get away with.
That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't say LG are too far behind, though. Snoopy, Eonic, and Xaliea have been around the scene for a very long time themselves. I think the one thing I've noticed from LG today, though, Tully, they've done the same thing methodically in this game. It's been a very consistent, Joshy's going to be there, Lasbra's going to be there for every fight. And it's kind of allowed PK to play around that a little bit.
It was a great start for LG.
Yeah.
They definitely leaned on PK's aggression against themselves. But later on, it started to get weird for LG. To all-in commit onto a level 15, 14 Khepri, the way they did outside the Gold Fury was questionable. Now, the way they killed Vote before that was great. Yeah. Because it's a squishy Poseidon, right? Like, that's a tale of two different sides.
Left-hand side, Snoopy's trying to do small split push and put some pressure on the map. Sonic Boom hits Joshy, but he aegis it. Can't aegis the Kraken, though, and Vote will take his life. Xaliea is too low to stay in this fight any longer. Lasbra frontlining pretty well, but the World Serpent comes into play. Eonic gets a very good ult off onto Adapting, but Adapting gets a very good ult out of EmilZy. Lasbra falls back to base as Deathwalker with a bit of an up down there to reposition. PK in a very comfortable position still on the front line of this Phoenix.
EmilZy just said it sets up perfectly with that solar flare, lining up the Sonic Boom, trying to go for more. Snoopy will beats it away.
Great beats out of Snoopy there, actually, and EmilZy now having to limp away. So is Eonic, however, with the Death Bane to the left-hand side. This Phoenix at half health, Deathwalker focusing on the Phoenix now. And with that pillar being down, it just makes enough of a window for them to take this right-hand Phoenix. Fire Giants are going to wear off in about 4 seconds' time. But PK, with that one Fire Giant that they slipped out of nowhere against LG, has really swung this game in their favor.
They really did. This Khepri has been working out for EmilZy and PK, and if I'm LG, I'm looking at that pick for either ourselves or banning it away. They took away EmilZy's Geb instead, and I understand that thought process when you're worried about the Geb cleanse, you're worried about the blink engage on the Cataclysm, but Khepri is one of these gods that I think is heavily underappreciated, outside of the Pro League at least, where you have such great long distance engage, and it's safe. You don't have to put yourself out of position to drop that Solar Flare. You're giving off damage mitigation on the Rising Dawn, and that's just another way of peeling for your own teammates. You don't necessarily need to use your abilities all the time for that.
Well, there's a bit of a chance for LG still in this one. The good news from a Luminosity fan's point of view is that the Phoenix that fell down was the right-hand Phoenix. It's the easiest one to maintain the fire minions and also have a shot at defending the Fire Giant. Problem is, though, is they've got no wards at the Fire Giant now, and it's just spawned, and PK are already initiating to it. Eonic on the way, and it's going to be down before he can even get in the pit. You just saw Joshy is just off screen behind him. Any closer, LG may have had a shot at a Final Judgment steal there, but instead, PK now have their second Fire Giant.
They have that right side of the map lit up pretty well to see if LG was going to come around this corner. This is getting scary now for LG because PK's late game is officially online. Like, one more stack for adapting on this Rage, and all of a sudden his critical strike chances are going to be going through the roof. His player damage is not that high yet until we see almost a 1,000 damage crit on the Oracles.
I mean, at the same time, though, you know, PvE mobs in this game, neutral camps, they generally do get crit harder than the player does.
It just feels good, though, to see a 4-digit crit.
I always find it weird because I'm like hitting for 1,000 and then I go up and, you know, punch someone like, I don't know, Snoopy in the mid lane and it's like 700. I'm like, wait, what? I was doing 1,000 a second ago.
I mean, I'll take 700 crit against a squishy target there. I like the Titan Spain pickup. We don't see this item very often, but it's good at confirming against some of these tanky targets.
It's been a very interesting game so far, but it really does come down to Pittsburgh Knight shot calling and to realize that Fire Giant was there. Because this game was still relatively evenly balanced between the two until that FG. And then from that moment on, it's been PK all the way. Game 1 is looking solid at the moment.
It definitely caught me by surprise, as it definitely caught LG by surprise with that kind of shot calling. It's very refreshing to see how PK can make this roster change, but still keep to their core values of that kind of shot calling.
Ultimate used early by Rowe to try and separate the front line and back line of LG. Phoenix already at half health as the up-downs from the World Serpent create pools on the ground to cause problems. Joshy tried to channel the final judgment but got hit by Rowe as a Kraken from Boat on the backside hits 2 prime targets.
Okay.
And meanwhile, Adapting takes out Joshy. Snoopy's one hit from Death and Adapting goes no Rowe. That one's mine too.
No way.
Double kill looking for the triple. The blink was good, but it wasn't enough to find the kill. And Adapting front line in there continuing to swing away. This is a Mercury game if I've ever seen one at the moment. Boat now on a killing spree, and PK, who at the start of this game looked a little discombobulated and unexpected of what LG would bring here, are going to take game 1 after a fantastic Fire Giant call.
Adapting very spicy on this Mercury. 3-1-9, a part of all of his team's 12 kills. Late game officially online, and a lot of credit to Rowe on that Jormungandr. During that World Serpent in that last Phoenix engage, he was focusing the right target, which was Joshy on the Thoth, not allowing him to freely channel that final judgment.
Yeah, he did have that final judgment channeled, but as he was channeling up, the World Serpent hits, knock-up happens. Really good play from Pittsburgh Knights, but I wanted to talk a little bit about LG there too. Their early game and the composition worked really well.
Impressive.
It just kind of fell off at that one moment where they just didn't realize the Fire Giant was up.
They needed to do a better job at shot calling for the objectives. Getting the Gold Fury with Final Judgment is a possibility, especially when you're killing Vote on cooldown in that early game, but they couldn't find that important third kill onto Vote when the Final Judgment can truly secure the objectives.
You know, I don't think this set's all but done already. Stay tuned because we still got, it's a best of 5 after all. I think LG will bounce back. Let's find out after the break.
Alienware, the official PC provider of the SMITE Pro League.
Welcome back to the SMITE Pro League. The Knights have certainly come back to the SMITE Pro League, and while we might have had questions beforehand, I don't think I have many after the fact. Ryan, maybe one question.
What's that?
Are they mad?
They might be. I mean, look, PK are coming out of the gates with a lot to prove, and I think that is a very powerful factor. I mean, yeah, week 10, you've already clinched. Motivation can sometimes be at a low. Not right now for PK. They have to prove to themselves, and I think to the public, that this move was a positive one for them.
3-0-6 there for the stand-in solo laner. 2-1-6 for the moved-over Deathwalker. Certainly there's something to be said about Knights versus Luminosity and the overall power therein. But at the end of the day, Knights had a task and they completed it. Let's take a look at the reel.
I mean, Joshy got off to such a good start for LG. You were feeling like they were going to be in a good spot because their Thoth was massive early on, and that's the perfect character to get ahead. But Lasbra's Guardian's Blessing start instead of Assassin's Blessing meant that he couldn't keep up in jungle farm. Was good in gold, but not in XP, and that started to really materialize towards the later stages of the game. And for me, the big thing, obviously, this Fire Giant, this sneak of the Fire Giant. Take a look on the map where everyone from LG is when this Fire Giant gets pulled. The closest one is mid-tier 1, and it only takes 3 people with a Frenzy from PK. Adapting has Rage and Deathbringer at this point. They burn it in 19 minutes, and that really opened up the game.
What was really interesting is right before that it was the Gold Fury, and it's this play, honestly. So Luminosity Gaming aren't on the backside doing the Gold Fury, and I think that's what a more experienced team does here. We have this all-in zone, and that you get everybody to blow all their ultimates. You get the Kraken offline, but then you buy in, you lose the fight. Pittsburgh Knights walk across the street, take care of Fire Giant, take care of Gold Fury, and then take care of the rest of the game.
Yeah, Kenneth's really good at Mercury, man. You just can't. Yeah. That's a pick that it feels like it's really difficult to play against. I felt like a lot of things were going well for LG that game, but the big story for me from that game for Luminosity is not losing Fire. It's not Joshy getting big. It's really that Xaliea gets first pick set and goes 0-0-0 until the Titan Siege. There were a couple fights where this Khepri threat really kept him at bay, but by sitting there and not doing a whole lot and saying, oh, well, if I go in, Khepri's going to stop me, then you're not being effective. You have to make him use it.
He also, Xaliea almost got first blooded. If it wasn't for Joshy absolutely popping off in the left side lane, Xaliea gets first blooded by the coach stand-in. Now, Rowe's not Coach Cassier when he stood in for Insignum, pulling up out of the Silver Leagues. Dat 300 ping life has done it before, and here he'll do it again like we just saw. But at the end of the day, when you have been a tried and true SPL member, it's your... to say your class work to get that lane done is putting it lightly. Xaliea was expected and still is expected to be better than Rowe on the short side.
Yeah.
Up and down. And the fact that he wasn't was a big, big deal.
It's even less than that for me. That is a huge part of it, but you can take one step back and say, if you're first picking set, considered one of the best gods in the game, you have to do more than that. Xaliea just did not impress me on that pick. LG should still, and that's the worst case scenario, right? When a team lets through a strong pick and you take it and you do nothing with it. Now that puts you at a massive disadvantage of picks and bans. Does LG need to go back to it? Does someone else play set on the team? Do they need to ban it themselves and then set PK up for a better picks and ban phase? That when you get a top tier pick and don't execute, that is so much worse than never getting the pick in the first place.
If I'm Luminosity, I blatantly go to Xaliea, was that the yips, or can you play the character? What went on there? Because I have no problem first picking set again here, as long as I ban the Jorm.
That's the big thing, is I think you take Rowe off Jorm, and Rowe had a very good game. He did his job. It wasn't anything super spectacular, but he didn't make a glaring mistake at all.
Exactly.
Take him off the pick.
Bang.
Exactly. He's a new player. But now, PK get their choice. They get either Ama or Set if they decide to ban either one here. If they ban both, then you still end up with a pretty good pick on the other side. I think PK is very right in assessing that they'd much rather give over that Set again to LG. At this point, you give Xaliea the Set again, I think. Yes. You can't give it up here. But maybe PK doesn't have another set player because their set player before was Deathwalker in the solo lane. Is he going to play set mid?
I don't mind.
I think it's good. I think you can.
I have no beef with that. LG, though, Olorun will be the choice overall. And as we said, this guy is team fight in a box, man. In the laning phase, sure, different story. But when he drops the box, everything is tough to deal with. We've seen teams fight against it. Space Station Gaming, most notably, kind of leaned on this Olorun, and it was answered very cleanly by choices with CC Community. You're talking Vamana and other characters of that ilk. So when you're looking at PK's draft now, these are some of the options they can walk into.
Morrigan Hover, that's the usual for PK, but that's because Zeros is usually on that squad. Certainly, PK know the power of this selection, but do they have a Morrigan player that can live up to snuff? I mean, basically no one is as good at Morrigan as Zeros is, so I don't think that that's a fair comparison. But you need to be able to execute with this pick anyways. As Morrigan and Xing Chen, the Xing Chen pick very good against Olorun, very difficult for him to get away from it. That Whirlwind of Rage and Steel will cause him problems in the Sanctified Field or out of it. I like this a lot, but now LG have their choice. Do we want to run the setback again?
The answer is yes. And I think that's a good answer. Again, I just blatantly ask Xaliea, hey, no hate, just curious. Last game wasn't great. Is that representative of what you can bring, or is it different? And frankly, you always hope your player goes, yeah, I struck out. Oh well, give it back to me and I can do it again. And like I said, I think this character is too similar to what Xaliea has done in the past to be too afraid of it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he has had a lot of auto attack assassins in the God pool in the past, but that's the past. There's a lot of different players now. There's a lot of different itemization, meta, the way the game's played. It's all kind of different these days.
Love it.
Vamana as well. I mean, whoever's picking this Olorun, I wonder if it's Joshy. I mean, Snoopy could certainly... They played it in the mid lane with Snoopy, I believe, before. And I wonder if that's where they're going to put it. I think Olorun in mid is leaps and bounds worse than it is in the long lane. I think you need to get this character farm, and you don't want him in these 3v3 fights in the mid as much as you can help it.
Well, last time LG brought out the Olorun, it was in the hands of Joshy, and he had fantastic placement on the ultimate. And when you watch Joshy's God pool, it's all these characters that sit in the back line, observe from a distance, and then go on in. That's exactly what Olorun needs to do. That's what Thoth had to do in game number 1. He's successful there, so I like to see those choices on him. We'll see if that's the case. Second round bans. PK says no to the jungle. And LG focused, well, still there. The monkey banned away. Pittsburgh Knights picked Mercury in their jungle position last time around. We'll see if LG ban it or go someplace else.
This is going to be interesting, man. I mean, do you let the set try and go on the Morrigan every fight? I mean, Morrigan very difficult to lock down, but that's what Kumbhakarna is really there for. Olorun can also cause her some problems, really slow down that changeling transformation. But if the Morrigan transforms into the set as he's going on her, that Sanctified Field is going to cause him problems. He has no CC immunity. Everything he does is awfully slow.
I like this ban here. I like this Anhur ban. I think Anhur is one of the more flexible characters, and there's still a spot for him in the Pittsburgh Knights draft, whether it's lane or even someplace weird. But the Mercury one more time for adapting. And watch how this guy starts on this character, by the way. It's very interesting. I don't know how you... I don't know how you play against this 2 games in a row, and I also don't know how you avoid it, and that's what great teams do to you.
I mean, I do. You don't ban Hun Bats. That's not a character that adapting plays a whole lot. Yes, he can play it. Yes, he can play it well, but this Hun Bats ban baffles me, man. Game 1, maybe you feel like, okay, it's really good against our draft, whatever. Sure. Mercury's just a better ban against adapting, I think, in just about every single scenario. I really don't like that ban at all.
I think the idea behind the Hun Bats ban is anti-Olorun. I think if Hun Bats gets to the back line, Olorun drops a Sanctified Field and nobody cares because everybody's feared and Olorun is dead. I think that there is a method to the madness. However, I find myself on your side of the table. I acknowledge why LG are banning it, but I do think the Mercury just outright kills you a little bit more. And Neith is going to lock down somebody to be the target. Susano Merlin finishes off the draft here for LG. A much more interactive game plan for LG. And just flat out, I am happier with Lasbra on Susano than I am on the Cabrakan.
Yeah, I can agree with that. This Neith pick is interesting where you turn your backflip from a disadvantage because it's slow and telegraphed in a kind of an advantage against Sanctified Field because you are in the air for so long, you can't get hit during that time. It's why Ho Yi, I think, is a really good matchup there, and because he solos you super easily. But I actually like this Neith pick a decent amount, but that's only when it comes to being up close and personal with Sanctified Field, which frankly won't happen that often. I think the Susano is going to give this Neith a lot of problems. I'd assume this is going mid for Deathwalker, letting Vote take this Morrigan selection. I didn't love Vote on the Poseidon in game 1. Really didn't do anything at all until the later stages of the game where the game was kind of wrapped up by that point. He struggled early, and he might again in this one.
Luminosity trying to pull the pieces together. Pittsburgh Knights trying to bring it out to game number 2. This is it, the matchup. Let's jump to the casters.
Thanks so much, Desk, and let's have a look at how this one begins. Adapting with Blink and no items just yet. Keep an eye on what happens with this as this goes on.
Ooh, I think I know exactly what's going to happen
Tell
here.
me.
He's probably going to go back to base, get Ninja Tab by right off the bat, use that little bit of a movement speed in case there's an invade. So he's just going to wait for 50 gold.
I think,
No, okay. No, it's not.
You were close, but no cigar there. Rowe defending on the right-hand side with the Vamana. Speaking of that Vamana, well, there's 2 Vamanas with that Morrigan, and I believe there's a few players that have experienced trying to play Olorun against double Vamana before.
And that's why PK baited out this Olorun pick. It's because of the Vamana-Morrigan combination of double Colossal Fury. You're not going to get slowed during the Colossal Fury. You can chase him down. Now, to be fair, though, Joshy inside his Sanctified Field gets a 40% movement speed increase, so you could potentially run away a little longer.
EmilZy and Eonic both in the duo lane. Not been a long time since I said that about supports. Snoopy in the mid lane, no beads, no life. Great little pick from Adaptin and Deathwalker together. It did cost Adaptin his blink for that, but I think the beads was a little bit late, I'd say, from Snoopy. I guess he didn't expect the amount of pressure he got.
Well, the thing was, Deathwalker hit the root from a distance.
Yeah.
It forced the beats right there. Otherwise, you're just taking basic attacks from not only Deathwalker, but also adapting. But getting special delivery at level 1, very uncommon, right? So, like, Snoopy was dead one way or the other. The only way he survives is if Deathwalker misses the roots.
Knight's really focused on some early game pressure then. And with that, EmilZy and Vote in the duo lane going to get some early pressure there too towards this left-hand side, just trying to limit some of this, what Olorun can do. Meanwhile, Lasbra in the jungle now going to look towards the speed buff of Adaptin, but Adaptin doing a fine job as it stands.
And I like how Adapting has kind of transitioned to this style of delaying his own speed buff and finishing off his boots this early in the game. You can't even take a level 2 fight up against him.
Snoopy's still a level 1 in that mid lane, so is Eonic at the moment. So all pressure for Knights in this early stage. Blink over the wall from EmilZy, up down onto Eonic, and then a special delivery. The burning from Snoopy's not going to be good to save Eonic. And this is already getting out of hand quickly. Knights with 2 kills.
And they're both onto Adapting. This is supposed to be a late game hyper carry, but when you're getting kills like this, that late game heavily accelerated. Last time Adapting's build was the Jungle Blessing into the Rage/Deathbringer, and it's only going to come online faster. That 19-minute Fire Giant that we saw is probably going to get reduced by a minute or 2 at this pace.
EmilZy moving in place, gets a bit of poke damage there. Lower mana, and probably needs a cooldown or 2 to get away, and he doesn't have it available at all. Lasbra with some chop shop with that Susano to bring him down and answer back some of the damage that PK have done, but Adaptin's back. And a special delivery into the wall puts Eonic under pressure. He did have the throwback, and oh, that was close, but not close enough.
I don't think he could have curved that against the wall. Eonic was able to dash and duck under the safety of his tower. That made you look, can't do the same thing, Adapting, wanting some blood, but the way LG answered back, very important. Keeping true to their style that they did in game number 1. 3 to 4 player collapsing in middle is how they made success in game number 1. They didn't really get any objectives from it, but this could be the beginning of something good for LG if they can continue to make these mid rotations, start really punishing out EmilZy that's playing the Xing 10. That's a great pick, I think, against the Olorun because of the Furious Roar, but not as safe as the Khepri in the previous game.
LG lost a bit of farm on that left-hand side, and it looks just in that right. Rowe did manage to defend his own blue buff there. Nice work from him with the Umbrella rank just to secure the safety of that, and that just continues to cause LG problems. They keep losing farm in the jungle, their own red. The purple was defended at least from Joshy, but then the blue on the right-hand side isn't found, so the farm situation not as good as they would like. Lasbra though at level 4, still grinding to 5, is at least for the time being equal level with Adapting, who's blinking again.
I love these rotations from Adapting. He was such a quiet Mercury last game, but he's anything but quiet now in game number 2. He wants to make a statement.
And the statement so far is 4 minutes in, and we've already been involved in 3 kills.
You know what it was? I think it was that little last Phoenix siege of Adapting, the way he Sonic boomed into the back line, and then he got the second kill with the major look, almost got a third kill onto Eonic with a blink. That was that kind of confidence booster from Adapting, and now with his Mercury style, he's even going for a different build, Hindu Man. He's not going the Assassin's Blessing, he's not going the crit, he's going for lifesteal instead.
Be a Bloodforge more than likely. We see that quite a lot on these Mercuries.
I'm expecting a Bloodforge, and with that amount of physical power, he might get Heartseeker as well, just to synergize more damage scaling on the tanks.
Yeah.
Now, the Major Look is a pretty short cooldown, so if you're sieging, and it's long sieges, that Major Look is going to start slowly chipping away at the tank's health. So I'm really curious if that is going to be a Bloodforge into the Heartseeker.
I don't think we'll see Heartseeker, maybe just because there's not many tanks on LG. Xaliea will go for a bit of health, I'd suggest, but I don't think it'd be too much more than what a Warrior Guardian would bring. Only really be Eonic, the tanky target, but here LG defending their own red buff, and Pittsburgh Knights weren't very aware of the trap. The backflip out of Deathwalker, and the Sonic Boom out of Adapting, but Lasbra just backstepped quick enough. Eonic still trying to secure this kill, beats down on Deathwalker. Worldweaver to try and buy some time for EmilZy to blink over, but Lasbra is there to pick up the pieces and the kill. LG, well, the red buff gets secured for them after the invasion of PK, and they also get Deathwalker kill.
I like that execution. Neith is very susceptible towards being in bad positions when traveling along the jungle side. You don't get the full range of motion when you backflip up against the wall there, as LG recognized Deathwalker a little too frisky on some of these hunters in middle, which has worked out for him offensively. 2 assists, aiding, adapting to get 2 earlier kills, but defensively on the other side, when you're overextending like that, you're just going to be punished.
Well, it's definitely that time of year now, though. We start to see the teams pick up the speed and the potency of their gameplay. World Championships right around the corner, and LG still have a lot to practice for. They've got the placement stage coming up. They can't qualify directly to Hi-Res Expo, but warm-up games like this against the Knights are going to be very important to find the synergies they need. All the while, PK, sure, their standings in the Pro League have been good enough this year to auto-qualify them, but with this roster change coming through, they've got to keep up with the pressure that's coming to them and get prepped themselves.
We really didn't talk about the solo lane matchup here between Xaliea and Rowe. This Vamana going for Blink at level 1.
That's
and
a good point, yeah.
I'm surprised a little bit. It's easy to bully anyone out that doesn't have self-sustain when you have to use your ultimate, right? Like Tier, for example, has the power cleave.
Yeah.
Vamana needs to use Colossal Fury to stay relevant in the lane, and that's why Xaliea has such a difference in that health bar advantage. He doesn't need to be too close to you. He can skew you from a distance, and he even's relying a little bit more potions as well.
He could do with his beads right about now, but he's not got those. He's got TP. Xaliea under a lot of pressure. Sonic Boom through. Skewer's good from Xaliea for damage, but it's not going to be good enough for a kill. He's just trying to stay as mobile as possible. 2 blinks, boys. All right, a little bit too much there. PK do find the pick. LG, though, upset about that, trying to find an answer back. You see they're trying to group up on this left-hand side. Just no real window available.
7 minutes in, it's hard to burn through a Gold Fury fast enough, but that was 3 members in the solo lane. Whenever there's that many members committed on the right side of the map, there needs to be something on the left. If it's purple buff, red buff, Gold Fury as well. There were some ultimates from LG that could have been used potentially there. That Sanctified Field makes it harder for PK to stop you from doing that Gold Fury, but there's not that much burst damage, right? Like, you got to use the Typhoon maybe to confirm that objective.
Looking at the builds as well, I just want to bring up the Vamana a bit more because we were talking about the Vamana set matchup there. Vamana's really good against, physical gods for the most part because of the way his abilities work, his anti-attack speed options in there. And then, well, you build tank and you also get free damage off it too.
I think it's about 15% of your physical protection.
20.
Or 20%.
Sorry, I'm not trying to call you out, but I'm the numbers guy too, totally.
It goes into physical power. So stacking physical protection up against a set is going to help one way or the other, as well as dealing with a Susano jungle. You got to worry about him in that early stages. We haven't seen Lasbra make those rotations on the right side. He's been very focused on the mid, on the long lane side, making sure those invades from PK do get mitigated.
Early ult from Rowe and Xaliea trading out. Xalia's not going to win this trade, though, against the likes of that, but I think he's trying to bring him in a little bit closer. You could just see Lasbra hovering on this right-hand side, but right behind him, Adapting was there on the Mercury. He could have potentially found an angle for a Sonic Boom if it was required there. I'm a little bit surprised in seeing the Breastplate of Valor so quickly out of Rowe, because the Gladiator Shield would have helped him out with the sustain things that you were talking about a little bit earlier.
It would have, but you get more protections. Even here at Silver Breastplate, the MP5 is also really good. You don't have to use abilities to get back your mana, whereas Gladiator Shield you do. Adapting, I think, could still continue this pressure. Now that there's no ultimate from Xaliea and his teleport's down, if they can find a kill onto him or even just get him low enough to get him to back, Rowe is going to be able to maintain his lead in this game.
Definitely, not only that, but double blink with Rowe and Adapting both having him there. Xalia's just going to have to be very, very careful about being all in. lack of CC immunity in some of the kit from Xaliea there will come into play a little bit more. I wonder if we'll see him go for more defense like a Magi's Cloak eventually.
I would like to see that.
Yeah?
It's something that he doesn't shun away from, is the different style of builds. He was the one that kind of introduced Pythagoras' piece into the meta when he was playing like Sobek at the beginning of this year in the solo lane. Like, no one's playing Sobek at that point of the year. No one was picking up Pythag's piece. That kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes.
Xaliea definitely is a creative inventor style, so people won't expect that. Adapting with Sonic Boom there, looking to catch Lasbra, but Lasbra trying to return the favour. And Adapting's going to get punished there for his discretions of being a little bit overextended, I'd say. I like the idea, because if he lands that Sonic Boom, he probably kills Lasbra, so it was a really interesting play.
And it wasn't only that. It was double World Weaver being thrown at Lasbra, but it wasn't right away. Like, it wasn't one World Weaver after the other. I think the cleanup ultimate from Vote was a little late to the party there, falling short, adapting, feeling himself a little bit too much now. I think he needs to realize he can't force everything.
EmilZy goes in as Lasbra just dashed into it. Now Lasbra's under pressure, gets picked up by the whirlwind of rage and steel, and Deathwalker will get his first kill in this game on the Neith in the mid lane, still working towards that transcendence. Just awkward timing that. Lasbra uses a jet stream, and guess who's there at the same time? That Xing Tian.
It's so risky starting with Blink at level 1. You're just opening yourself up to getting CC'd consistently. EmilZy at the right place at the right time.
Fire Giant after this, right?
No. That's in about 8 minutes from now.
Okay, so I just thought I was having flashbacks.
They need Frenzy on EmilZy at least. Let him be level 12.
That's a good point. The Frenzy did come into play a little bit there, but there's a 2-level lead opened up then in the mid lane for Deathwalker on this Neith. The sustain she brings to that lane is pretty potent. Everyone always forgets the Unravel, and it's an anti-attack speed, first of all. It does give you a lot of lifesteal.
I always forget about that anti-attack speed, and it's going to be between the Unravel, between Rowe's Umbrella Ring for the anti-attack speed, anti-attack damage from EmilZy's Furious Roar. Vote can transform into one of those three to really limit LG's potential. Joshy on the Olorun. Going to be hard to really do any basic attacks for free.
Snoopy going for a bit more penetration after the Shoes of Focus here. I'm a bit surprised he didn't maybe look towards some lifesteal from Bancroft. Sure, it might not be his preferred build, but if he gets poked a little bit by Deathwalker here, he's very susceptible to a gank from adapting, and no sustain to speak of means he'll have to just keep returning back to base more regularly.
It's just about the god that he chose. Bancroft's is good, yes, but Snoopy on the Merlin has to go spare the Magus.
And then Pythags instead then. You know, like something like
sure.
Lifesteal. Anyway, Gold Fury started up by PK. You can see Vote and Deathwalker over on this left-hand side. Lasbra going to turn up to the party, Joshy too, but Joshy steps in a ward. They're going to have the opportunity to secure that. PK get the Gold Fury. Deathwalker loses half his health. Charles the Willweaver that hits Joshy. Eonic trying to frontline, and with Vote being over here on the Morrigan, he just quickly transfers into Rowe and uses the Colossal Fury to resustain.
Oh, almost full health now. Joshy can't really bully him out of there. Adapting still lingering around, has Sonic Boom. He's going to wrap around the purple buff because he sees Lasbra's here as well.
Adapting just hovering, waiting for the opportunity. Lasbra blinks in, he didn't know Adapting was there! Adapting sniffed the danger out! The gravity surge slows down Adapting, but Vote gets some free time on his own to bring down Lasbra. Beautiful counter gank out of PK.
And it's not as though PK had any vision of that happening. They just kind of saw him from a distance and adapted perfectly, adapting. And Lasbra had the same exact mindset.
Really good play from EmilZy in the mid lane to get the beads and flicker out of Snoopy there on the tail end. The flicker away wasn't good enough to create enough distance. So now more susceptibility towards Snoopy on this Merlin in mid. On the right-hand side, Rowe versus Xaliea continues. Both still level 13. It will be a real tank and spank battle. No one's going to fall down in this one anymore.
Definitely not. A little bit of an advantage for Rowe, getting 2 extra Totem of Qs for his team. Translates to about 250 gold. Xaliea definitely not winning this one if he's going to get hit by that Umbrella Ring to reduce his attack speed.
Yeah, just going to be a little bit careful. 63 then, as it stands. 3,000 goldie for PK after the Pyromancer and Gold Fury secured. It wasn't just those two that created this situation, though. This has been all pressure from PK from moment one.
It's interesting because it was LG that had this scoreline of the kills, but they did not have the same kind of a goalie that PK had because they couldn't find the objectives. They were too hesitant, too scared, whatever you want to call it. LG versus PK. PK's experience really showing off. When they do have a lead, they play with it. They know what they can get away with.
Weaver on Lasbra early on, and EmilZy's there to follow up straight away, and Lasbra didn't know about the danger. EmilZy doesn't have his ultimate available, otherwise that could have been a lot more of a worse situation for Lasbra, but he did have to use his ultimate defensively, and the Boo buff is still stolen away. lane, given over to EmilZy, who will enjoy the extra mana and cooldown reduction.
Yeah, he should be having a good time spamming that Furious Roar. It's nice to have MP5 on a Xing Chen because using your abilities for the
Snoopy,
HP5.
no beats, no life. 2 shot by Vote there. Just trying to position himself nicely to defend the tower, and that won't help either as the tower will fall down. Great rotation out of Vote there, an opportunity capitalized on.
It's weird. Zeros is not on this team anymore, but Morrigan is still shining onto Vote. And this is the power of Morrigan. It doesn't matter of some of the slight nerfs, some of the changes to her third ability to make her stealth.
Yeah.
She's still going to make plays like that. Not expecting that with Snoopy at all.
And the thing that you've seen with the Morrigan overall, we saw Bumba's Mask was the real main item pickup for her. The extra mobility allowed her to use that stealth for a longer period of time and zoom around, rather, a little bit quicker. The Doom Orb has been the item that's really come into play instead now. And it doesn't come at a deficit the way Bumba's Mask does, where you take more damage. Doom Orb's just a great all-round item in certain situations. It really set up a lot of possibilities.
But it's not as much movement speed as the Bumba's Mask. It's a risk versus reward kind of style. This is an aggressive all-in draft from PK, and that's why Vote picked the Morrigan. They're expecting this double Vamana rush onto Olorun, and if they can shut out Joshy, that's going to be the success out of Vote later on in these team fights.
Sonic Boom being charged by Adapting. Eonic will yawn and then say no thank you. Root misses from Deathwalker onto Eonic, as EmilZy was still continuing to try and pressure Snoopy, who's still 2 levels behind on Deathwalker and having a rough time with this Merlin so far. But I talk about experience. Also in the dual lane, Vote has a 2-level lead over Joshy so far as PK head back to the Pyromancer and pick that up for themselves. And now 5 members of PK looming on the right-hand side of the map.
Just look at the triangular formation of the Sentry Wards on this right side. PK dominating vision completely. LG can't even afford to step in because this is going to happen. Snoopy's just going to get poked out. About 50% of his health to a level 13 support. Has to flicker away defensively. This is how PK is going to start bullying out LG. Looking for the chip damage and then go for a Fire Giant. Last time, it was around that 1950 mark that they got it. They're only 3 minutes away from that point.
Aggro always talks about how rough it is to be a mid-lane mage when a Guardian is equal level to you. Well, deal with a Guardian that's 2 levels above you, and it makes it even worse of a situation. Relic Dagger now online for EmilZy means he's going to have his Blink and that Frenzy up a little bit more often too now. The rest of the build's coming along quite nicely for Knights. That Rage is online for Adapting to go with that Bloodforge now. He's going to be swinging for the fences very, very soon.
He really, really will. Deathbringer almost completed. Instead of going for Fire Giant, PK going for the more guaranteed Oni Fury instead of Eonic. Trying to do what he can with the warding situation.
I do think this Fury is really important here, Tolly. If this one goes to PK as well, this game is just going to really heavily snowball further into their favor, and I don't think I'll see a window back in for LG. They've got a chance at this Oni Fury, I feel. If they strip this away or do something, it just gives them a bit of hope in this game.
Both Soul Laners are present. Keep an eye on how Rowe plays this. I think he's going to try to go onto Joshy.
Keep an eye where Adapting is too, just trying to cover the option around that side. Zone work from Pittsburgh Knights here is fantastic, and now the collapses. Eonic was the first to step up, does get yawned on, needs a ton of damage now, set uppercut. Meanwhile, Vote is dealing with the backline, and guess what, Joshy, the Vamana will just keep running at you.
A second one.
2 in a row, the big babies are online, and now the spin out from EmilZy will at least get the beads out of Snoopy. Oni Fury still stands though. Knights invested a lot there to push LG back, but a couple of members of LG still have ultimates up. Sonic Boom available for Adapting though. Xaliea trying to sneak on in, but the zone work from PK is good enough to secure.
I like how Vote was also still kind of on the outside, hoping somebody was going to go through that corridor. You don't need Morrigan DPS for that objective. If you're just going to leash it anyway and look for the kills, you're doing so much damage with Vote's build. The Polynomicon, 4 items deep after you've already established penetration with that Desolation Spear is a good way to punish LG.
Speaking of his play in that fight as well, it's not often you see a Morrigan run at combatants like that and use the ultimate for a defensive zoning utility usage.
Sure.
Because he legit transformed very quickly, went, I am Vamana, run away from me. And then Rowe went, oh, you're Vamana, I'll be Vamana too, big baby's online. And that just made the space available for PK to win the engagement without even finding kills.
The one power spike of the Hasten Katana gives Vote that ability to transform Xaliea. This is the power of Polynomicon right there.
Under pressure too on the backside as Adapting got hold of him, and now the Epic couple down. Adapting should be able to find that kill. Snoopy, meanwhile, without beads this time, will get run down by Rowe, and the beat stick of the Umbrella. Double kill for Rowe now, and Vo's had enough of watching Rowe do it, so he's going to transform himself. Back towards the Fire Giant we go then. 2 members dead, Lasbra and Snoopy. Xaliea in base, remember, after having to go back there. No teleport available for him. Fire Giant is going to go to PK again.
This is the same exact timing window as well. The only difference is LG know about it, but they just can't stop it. Rowe is an absolute mad lad. He's no longer with that 300 ping life that he used to be back in Season 1, Season 0 days. With this team, he's looking and feeling very comfortable. That strategy of double Vamana was really good to shut down Joshy's Sanctified Field. Getting that ultimate off defensively, I'll take that 1-for-1 trade every day.
Here's the thing, Tola, that's the thing from LG's picks and ban phase here. They know what Olorun's susceptible to, which is this Vamana. It's been shown before in the Pro League. And not only the Vamana, you could go with the Morrigan too. I feel like they kind of trapped themselves into this situation here today.
They did, and more than that, they chose first pick after losing first game. Normally you want second pick to at least figure out what your enemies are doing to counteract that. PK are very happy to be on the Chaos side, I'm sure, in both games, because they don't necessarily need to stick to one style. They adapt very well to many different ones, and we clearly see it. Once that Olorun was first picked, every pick after that was all about shutting down this Olorun.
And also the Set pickup. I'm okay with Set. He's really strong and potent. It's just certain matchups in the solo lane I'm not really a fan of him into. Jormungandr is not an easy one for him, or at least one that he can find kills in. That's why we've seen him a little bit more in the duo lane, making some work happen. And we know Snoopy can play that there. We've seen him do it before.
Sure.
Or have Joshy and Snoopy switch positions up maybe is a possibility. I don't know. Xaliea gets hit by that World Weaver. Or did he? Because I actually think that was blocked by Eonic, even though Xalia's health bar was way lower than expected.
I'm not sure, but either way, now they created a little bit of space to maybe siege this left side. EmilZy waiting for the minions to enter. Fire Giant buff still for 2 more minutes as PK is going to wait for the next wave.
Adapts in the mid lane, and now he's going to get joined by Vo as well. Stealthing on through, looking for a potential pick. Xaliea steps up, loses half his health again on this solo lane set. Minion wave gone, Adapting with the next one coming through. Skewer currently down for a second or two, however. And now on the left-hand side, PK engaged at the same time. EmilZy with a knock-up onto Eonic. Meanwhile in mid, Lasbra having to double dash around, but Vo giving chase with the Vamana, and the damage is good. Beat stick online, he's got Katana, he's got the life of Lasbra again. Left-hand Phoenix still being sieged up, and the flip onto Snoopy's good, but the static field causing some problems. Not enough to stop the Phoenix going down eventually, as Vo on the backside takes out Joshy. Now it's Eonic's turn. Sleepy time for him. Sleepy game for LG. And Pittsburgh Knights are about to take game 2.
Somebody killed this Phoenix. It's been at 1% health the whole entire team fight. And look how much damage. That is an MVP Phoenix, but not an MVP LG team as they get decided.
14 seconds on the closest respawn, which is Lasbra. They've got no minions here, though, but they do have Adapting with double crit online. And not only that, Rowe on that Vamana, so tank duty should be okay. Pittsburgh Knights are going to take game 2 unless Lasbra can turn it around. He blinks into the fight, forced to beads away, but it's at least good enough to force PK to reset, at least for the time being.
They're going to delay, I think, the inevitable. Like, this is a very established lead. We don't see this quite often at this stage of the game. This is more of like your 35-minute kind of lead. To get a Phoenix that early into the game without even really using Sonic Boom to engage, it really goes to show you the bully potential of Vote on the Morrigan, of Rowe on the Vamana. LG are just not prepared.
So much pressure onto him here. The World Weaver coming through, he's got no beads, remember, and then the combo was set up. EmilZy and Rowe just waiting for the trap in the jungle. Joshy going to try and return some damage, but he won't want to chase around that corner here. And to be fair, PK could have ended the game there. They just kind of misjuggled aggro, didn't take the Phoenix down in time. They would have had a healthier team around that.
Definitely agree with you.
Tian.
That Phoenix did way too much damage during that little fight.
But we're poking holes.
Yeah,
you know?
It doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think that this is still going to be an easy game 2 for PK to round out. They just need one more game. And this is the confidence that they need as well with their roster change. Anything that they can gain from these sets to Worlds is going to go a good way.
So in a lot of ways, when you look at how LG have been just lately, they've been on the up and the down and the round and round roster changes going on. in some cases, you'll look at this set and be like, I really expected LG to do better against PK with Deathwalker and Rowe coming into the team, you know, in different positions.
Sure.
But then again, if you're LG, it's hard to scout out a team, right? That's
Especially
just
if you're
had
not
roster
scrimming
changes.
them. Yeah, like you have to kind of hear about it through the grapevines to see what PK was doing in the scrims. And thus far, Deathwalkers look comfortable in mid, Rows look fine in solo lane, even with the Jormungandr ban into Vamana. These are two relatively safe picks. I kind of curious to see how Rowe would play an aggressive solo laner, like an Osiris, like a King Arthur, like an Achilles, but I don't think it matches what PK needs out of him in the solo lane. They just need him to be that solo lane force in the mid to late game team fights.
And that's something you got to think about. Solo lane this season isn't the be-all and end-all of the game anymore. They don't have complete control of the game, and they, to be fair, you could lose the laning phase in solo now and be fine.
And honestly, that's kind of what happened for PK in Season 6. Like, this has been the most stacked solo lane season that I've ever seen in all of competitive SPL history, and Deathwalker has not that kind of a good showing at all. He got soloed by Belair a couple times in the first phase, losing lane several times. Some plays that he's done that kind of leave me scratching my head, but so far with this switch up in mid, look fine.
Talking about mid, Phoenix Siege is under threat. Left-hand Phoenix is already down, and Fire Minions will start pouring through soon. But Rowe just whacking away on this Phoenix. And does some pretty good damage to it too to draw some attention. Allows EmilZy to slip round the right-hand side and put pressure on Snoopy again. But Snoopy really needs some help to get away from this Xing 10 because EmilZy's just been hunting for him every single fight.
This is a great play as he blinks in, forces the beats out of Joshy. Sanctified Field as well. Middle Phoenix on his last legs.
Still focusing EmilZy at the moment, though. LG just trying to clear the backlines. Blink on them from the front line from Eonic to try and zone away PK as Deathwalker's just been working down the minions and now gets the opportunity on the right-hand Phoenix too. This is just good play from PK.
And the left side Phoenix about to respawn. Fire Minions are waiting for it, as is though Lasbra making that rotation. Gotta be careful though from this Morrigan. Gotta be careful for Rowe though.
I remember Joshy no ultimate now because it was forced out by EmilZy moments ago. But the damage on Rowe is pretty susceptible, so he's got to fall back. It did open up Snoopy to die to Adapting though, and Rowe's beatdown continues of Lasbra. Middle Phoenix finally falls as Deathwalker turns up. Adapting blinks to the back and gets some damage on Joshy as Rowe will get a double kill on Xaliea. Titan's gonna fall. Pittsburgh Knights take game 2.
They're kind of are the way we thought they were, honestly. Despite with their roster swap, Rowe on this Vamana has looked like an unstoppable force, and Deathwalker on the Neith is the immovable object.
Yeah, I think they had a very good game then, but a lot of that for me comes down to picks and bans more than anything else.
Yes.
I think LG kind of put themselves in a spot where they had to, well, it was an uphill battle from moment one.
Just go chaos side. Like, why are you putting yourself in this position where you are order, you're first picking, you're revealing your hand right off the bat, and instantly a Xing Chen pick into the Morrigan pick is how PK was adapting to it because they expected to still secure the Vamana. Every little idea that PK had was revolved around LG's first pick.
It's a good point. Vamana was available after they picked up Olorun to take for themselves, but chose not to go, but went with the set again. Start the game though, totally real quick. We saw the blinking from Adapting. It was a big important play. From moment one, Adapting was popping.
He really, really was. He changed his build as well to the Bloodforge before opting for the crit, and it worked out for him, even without Assassin's Blessing.
Is this the PK we expected to see in Phase 1? We'll find out. 2 games their way so far. Let's see if LG can answer back after this break.
INAP, powering the control room for the SMITE Pro League.
there's a beat to miss, Pittsburgh Knights have not missed it. They've hit it with an accent and fervor. Fortissimo. 2 games down, and they're both Pittsburgh Knights. Ryan Agrabelli here to join me as we break this one down. Fantastic stuff for Pittsburgh. The black and yellow looking good here, but the black and yellow can look good at your home as well. Different teams, same colors. Splice won the last World Championship. That's what we'll all be fighting over in November. And if you're on the team that wins, small shot, but, I generally speak to small audiences, you too can get your own. There it goes. A Splice, Jormungandr skin. Cool.
Super sweet. Definitely load up and play it. It's a really good time, and you can kind of do what we saw Rowe do in Game 1, and then you can pick Vamana after that and do more of what Rowe did here in Game 2, which was play very, very well in that short lane. But let's not mix it up here. When adapting plays like that, it does not matter who was in your mid lane or who was in your solo lane. This game was won very early by adapting's early pressure. He ganks Snoopy at level 1. He ganks Joshy not too long later. I mean, I'm not saying that no one else did anything. I'm just saying that adapting set up his team for such success that these players were able to then win the game afterwards.
I mean, absolutely. That's one of the beautiful things that you can do as a team as deep as Pittsburgh Knights. You've got Vote and Adapting. Those 2 players can single-handedly, double-handedly take care of most opponents in the SMITE Pro League. You facilitate with a Neith pick. You facilitate with one of the stronger supports in the entire league. And, yeah, your solo laner doesn't even have to do well. And Rowe's doing well on top of it all. Pittsburgh Knights, I think, have played today outstandingly.
This is kind of what I expected from this team. I mean, they got to come in and look like they really are giving this at their all. They're here to prove what they can do with this new roster, and I think that has really been a big motivating factor for them. On the other side for LG, I feel for Snoopy, man. I mean, that early gank really set him behind. He was down a level to EmilZy all game. The enemy support was a higher level than Snoopy all game long. Joshy fell really far behind at the same time, so both damage dealers were unable to really be effective. That makes Rowe's job very easy. That peel was really awesome, but overall, you know that this is going to be a bad set for LG if they can't do more for their damage dealers. And another game, by the way, goes by where Xaliea gets one of the best gods in the game and does nothing with it. That is a big problem.
That just can't happen. We are focusing on the positive, and that's all well and good. Adapting is a 2-time world champion, and if you give him a hard carry, he is liable to hard carry the game. This is me in 2019 saying it. I said it in 2018, 17, 16, 15. He's King Kenneth. He's been arguably the best player in the league for years on years, so none of that's surprising. But that you don't get any Johns. No excuses here at the top level of competition. And what Xaliea did, or rather what he didn't do, can't happen here versus Pittsburgh Knights or versus anybody. You just can't play like that.
I mean, think of it this way. Hey, Xaliea, you've been in the league for a really long time. You're going to be solo laning up against someone who has never played the role at a competitive level. And the highest level of competition they played at is in the Australian SMITE League. Oh, and you get set. Do you think you're going to do well that game? And the answer has been resoundingly no, both times. Now, both times, it has been a consistent effort from PK to be on his blue, to set him a little bit behind, but he hasn't been super far behind, and his team fights, the mid-game where you're supposed to do all your money-making is set, he's done nothing in that spot. It's been a bad look for sure.
Tough stuff there so far. We're going to jump into game number 3 here. Picks and bans on the way. And again, Pittsburgh Knights find themselves in that secondary slot. And I wanted you to expand on this while we have a chance here. You talked about second choice being kind of a disadvantage right now.
Yeah, I think it's a huge one. I mean, there's so many gods that you need to be able to ban, and having this many bans is definitely a big advantage in comparison to how it used to be. But first pick slot gets to manipulate the bans in a way that they will get one of the top picks that they want no matter what. Now it's up to second pick to decide, can we give up something even better so that we can get a top tier pick at the same time? That's all kind of the question. But if you're second ban right now, your second pick, you have to ban Isis. You have to ban Persephone. You have to ban Set. You have to ban Amma. That's 4. You only get 3.
So far, we've got 4. Olorun banned this time around from LG, and they will ban the Mercury. That is a good call if you ask me. And, well, you are. I'm sitting here, and I'm telling you, it's a good ban. Olorun, on the other hand, an interesting choice. I like this ban. I think that Olorun has clearly been answered. Vamana, Xing,
This has got to be an Ama pick here for LG. It has to be. You cannot. PK already showed they're not going to take set away from you early. Ama's been that ban slot every single time.
Good call.
And LG do end up making the right decision. Now, is Xaliea comfortable on this pick? Is this a neat pick for Eonic? That kind of remains to be seen. But I think Amaterasu is in that tier of Isis Persephone set right now. Thor kind of on that line. But now you give up the Yorm. I don't know. I think LG, in the way that these picks and bans have gone, have kind of backed themselves into a corner.
Jormungandr and Anhur selected here for Pittsburgh. Love the Anhur choice. Amaterasu, a great character. All of a sudden, top pickable. Aura's sure, but what is it about this warrior that you love? Because you love this character.
Buffed early game on the 2, helps her clear much earlier on, and the fact that you're not getting your dash body blocked all the time. And here's a fun fact for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Level 20, her ult, base damage, 995 damage.
Oh yeah? How does that... But it doesn't seem that much. It's just 275.
Right, but it's 20% more on the second hit.
And then
40% more on the third hit.
Oh, wow.
And it's not like the scaling's low either, Tom. It's 150% scaling, but at least it's a skill shot. No, it's the size of the lane. What is this character, man? 1,000 base damage.
Ryan Bailey doing his best John Finch impersonation.
1,000.
Jokes aside, I am with you. She can build full tank and hit you for 1,000. That's a big deal. She's going to be setting up Set and Cabrakan, characters that honestly don't need half as good of a setup as Amaterasu can deliver. So LG certainly looking cute, feeling cute in the first half. Pittsburgh Knights add the Khepri to Yorm Anhur. And as we look towards our secondary ban phase, LG still looking in the jungle with the Ratatasker. Now, we talked about the Hun Bats ban being a little bit off because adapting isn't always the Hun Batsinator. The Ratatasker is not adapting's go-to character either, but I feel better about this one than I did with Hun Bats.
I mean, LG has just insta-lost every game in the early game, so you want to take those early game characters away, the ones that can affect you very well at a level 1 gank. And with the way that adapting's been playing, no Assassin's Blessing, I start thinking about what Obey was doing. Thanatos is on the table.
Sure.
If you want a god that doesn't need to build the blessing, I feel like Thanatos is certainly an option, and it provides him with that same early game snowball potential.
And it's great against Cabrakan. It will be selected here, the Thanatos. You've been on fire today, the Amaterasu and the Set conversation. Good choices here, Aggro. Will you buy my lotto ticket later?
I will not, because that is not an informed decision. That's a random one, and I can't help with that.
I feel you.
I'm actually very unlucky. Some would say no one is as unlucky as me.
Yeah, that's true. An attractive guy is sitting here in a fantastic... You're right. You're so unlucky.
I'm so unlucky, man.
LG feeling a little unlucky until this draft because
okay.
I am loving this draft. A little bit Erlang Shen action on the bottom. Olorun going to round it out here for LG. Again, big fan of what LG have brought. PK, though, for their playstyle today, this draft looks good and clean. Do you think LG can make this a 2-1 set?
I think they can. They have so much CC, man. I mean, I don't know how you get away from all of it. I like the idea. I mean, this set looks like it's going mid to me. Yeah. Giving it over to Snoopy, maybe Joshy, and you give Olorun to Snoopy. It's a matter of who they think is more comfortable on it. I think Set is much better in those 1v1s than in the 3v3s. So by that metric, I'd rather it go to Joshy. But Snoopy has proven that he's a very good Set player with his time with Armada. You can go either way with this. I think LG's draft does a lot of things well. They have to play the early game better. Xaliea has to have more impact. You've got to actually put pressure. I mean, Deathwalker and Rowe have been coasting these first 2 games. You haven't tested them quite yet. They've been floating along the lazy river where adapting's the current. You know, he's just pushing it all along. You've got to do a better job of disrupting those 2.
I'm right there. Things have been a little too easy for Rowe, or maybe that's just the other side. Maybe he's just been that good all along. We haven't known. You know, there is something to be said also about your coach in comms with you.
Sure.
Maybe Rowe's just whipping the boys into shape. We'll see if it's enough to take the set. Hindu Man, are you ready?
I am, but I don't think it's going to be easy to try and focus Rowe when he's playing a Jormungandr, Tolly. It's not an easy task, is it?
No, it's definitely not, but I mean, like, look at the CC from LG. I think they have options of how to limit Rowe. There was a lot of early aggression from adapting last game on the Mercury. I think It's going to translate very well on the Thanatos in Game 3.
I was a little bit worried about what LG were having to pull out of the bag here, because I just hoped they'd keep a couple of strategies hidden away from Rival, who they have to play tomorrow. But now they've kind of shown their hand that they're happy to have Joshy and Snoopy switch roles a little bit here. Joshy looks like he's going to be playing that middle position, and now Snoopy will be in the long lane up against Vo on this set, which we've seen him play before.
Something curious that Adapting is doing is he's starting with no items, but he leaves the fountain with those no items, right? So you're not getting that fountain movement speed boost on your second exit, but instead he waits for a full 100 gold to finish off this warrior tab. I'm kind of curious as to why, but it looks like there's no invade, so it should be a nice transition.
Well, there's no invades, but there's going to be a level 1 gank on Vo as he walks into Tremors here. Remember, no flicker. This could be the right call, because those Tremors will also get aggro from the minions too. So all the focus towards a Guardian and not on towards Snoopy allows him to walk in and help get first blood. Lasbra with a good pickup there, and now they can invade the purple off the back of it. LG off to a very good start.
A squishy mage at level 1, no access to flicker. Well calculated by LG. They came in with a game plan. They're executing it thus far, but they're going to lose some things in response. This is a pick from Thanatos, or rather from PK, that needs that early momentum. Is Adapting, strip away the speed buff. Could maybe help out on the blue buff?
Eonic could be under pressure here. Level 1 still for Adapting. Should he go for the fight here? Well, the question is he'll poke a little bit. Remember, Warrior Tabby swings heavily with that extra physical power that you get from it too. And now with Rowe turning up, blue buff is stolen. Speed buff is stolen on this right-hand side. Left-hand side of the map, PK only lost the first blood of Vo and the purple one.
And the thing is, you're not going to out-secure a Thanatos with a Death Scythe unless you literally body block it.
Yeah.
That's the only way you will ever stop him. And you're kind of wasting time by watching Adapting just secure your own blue buff. You need to be looking for farm elsewhere. Eonic still a level 1.
And this is what it's all about, that he's trying to get Snoopy a lead in this lane. They're going to have to try and play through Snoopy in the early game. Jormungandr versus Amaterasu, I don't expect any kills over there, barring jungler rotations. But this duo lane is where you're hoping Snoopy can find some impact. The problem is now EmilZy's already rotating over here. Snoopy's going to get pressured. Look to go aggressive instead and find an escape route through PK's side of the jungle.
Just now hitting level 3, so having access to the Sandstorm. Still looking for a flank.
It's
Doesn't know where Snoopy really is.
Oh, he's going to go back in lane, meet Vote. Vote still at level 2, more than likely though. We'll continue to poke him down slowly. Lost a lot of minions there in this laning phase. Eonic is here. Flicker's good, but it's not going to keep him alive much longer. The shell though will do just that, but Snoopy will get to the backline once more, and Vote will eventually fall down to Eonic. Lasbra was on the rotation. He won't look to pressure EmilZy there. So good turnaround from LG to make it 2 kills so far in their favor.
Better than solo lane set is long lane set, apparently. Snoopy should be fine to survive this. I think he bit off more than he can chew, but Adapting's here to play cleanup.
That abducts at the time. Blinking from Adapting to the backline. He takes out Snoopy. Blinking from Lasbra looking for EmilZy, but EmilZy will get under the tower. The Tremors will still bring him down. Adapting, though, gets a double kill. Absolute craziness in this duo lane. Vote's back here. Adapting's here, but Lasbra's at full health. Is Adapting going to go for this? I don't think
he can get this kill, unfortunately, but he...
That was a nice sight.
A little shot at the buttocks as he leaves, but the way that EmilZy cancels the back from Snoopy, very uncharacteristic of a lazy back there. I don't like that play. Snoopy has been playing very well so far this set, but to give that back for no reason, like even if you don't die necessarily, if you get hit by Rising Dawn, that's like another 5 to 10 seconds that you're not going to get back, not finishing off these items.
Was it? I felt it was more like a bait from Snoopy than a lazy back. I mean, sure, he could even back if it goes through, but if EmilZy goes aggressive, you expect him to die. I feel like LG kind of dropped the ball a little bit on how aggressive they got towards EmilZy. If they were a little bit quicker, I don't think EmilZy would have allowed Adapting to get back into that fray there and get a double kill.
A little tunnel vision, because yes, I agree they could have got the kill onto EmilZy there, but they're not really respecting Adapting's early presence. And what happens when you don't respect him? He gets an early double kill like this, putting PK on the board, and this is a Thanatos that has 5 now. A hovering death could be a problem in any lane.
But at the same time, what's happening so far is LG paying attention to the duo lane once more, trying to pressure Vote and get this set for Snoopy a lead. However, that once again is allowing Rowe and Deathwalker to be very comfortable in these laning phases and not be pressured too heavily.
I love this blessing from adapting. Warrior's blessing on the jungle Thanatos. You want to be a little bit tankier, you want some sustain, go for this blessing.
I don't think Eonic saw him around the corner, but Joshy saw adapting coming in and punishes him with a beautiful axe, and the combination from LG to follow up is great. They get 2 kills off that engagement. Well played from LG, and it was actually adapting that had the flank. Joshy just came back at the right time.
The trap into the counter trap. Yeah. Adapting saw some kills, but he didn't anticipate Joshy on that left-hand side. And Deathwalker, remember, used that Desert Fury earlier to clear the wave. Even if that fight started off on PK's terms, without that burst damage, I still think LG had an advantage.
You know that one fight in the mid lane there? For a second, Eonic was definitely looking in Adapting's direction as he rotated into that middle area. And I thought he surely would have seen him. Maybe he did. And I can't say whether or not it was for sure. But if he did and he like telegraphed him going to lane, it was a great play.
Top right vision control goes to LG. I think they saw him wrap around there, assumed he was going to be coming underneath. So yes, you want to bait the jungler a little bit more. And this is why whenever I see players use ability over walls to poke out a jungler to give away like, hey, we know where you are, it's such a time wasting thing when you can just keep the jungler there instead, because either adapting ganks you and you kill him, or he just waits around that corner forever and gets nothing from his time.
Xaliea continues to try and work on this right-hand side, but that's the first totem of Kuri's had so far. Remember, he did lose his blue buff right at the beginning of the game to put him at a bit of a deficit there. But in terms of gold income net worth for those two solo laners at the moment, well, it's definitely an advantage so far for Rowe, who's up about 1,100 gold in that lane, funny enough.
That's a big deal, honestly, because once these rotations start happening, that level 12 to 15 marker, this Jormungandr is going to be a big deal because Snoopy on the set wants to get off that damage. He's going to be building hyper glass cannon style.
Well, correct myself. I said 1,100 gold. That's a bit crazy at 6 minutes in. It's only 4,500, but still 4,500 is good. It's not the same as 1,100 though, which I was a bit away with myself on. Lasbra was trying to get that whole minion wave away from the tower, and instead he ends up eating a bit of poke damage. The pillar was just off the mark from exactly where he would have liked it to be to try and pinch Lasbra there, but damage was still done. On the left-hand side of the map, you can just see Snoopy on the set trying to pressure for the purple buff. And there's a lot of wards down is what I was about to say, but Snoopy has arrived with a sentry. Bad news is those wards don't give as much vision as they used to. So that sentry's not catching the other ward that's just positioned close by.
Unlucky there, but at least you deny the sentry ward there. So you're getting 50 gold, and more importantly, you're denying 120 gold from your opponents there. So that's 170 gold swing.
Definitely a playstyle I've seen Snoopy do a lot, where he likes to try, if he can, to try and proxy farm the wave a little bit and catch people on the rotations into the jungle. He pinches those angles so very well, and Eonic going mid lane, going to get very aggressive there and force the Thanatos ult, but I don't know if Snoopy knows about it. He will now as he's forced to Aegis after the dunk. The follow-up damage wasn't really there, most of it absorbed by the Aegis, and now with that Thanatos ult down, PK going to be a little bit careful around the purple as Lasbra blinks on in.
Oh, but now it's EmilZy in a little bit of trouble. He couldn't get off the ultimate.
Knock-up just prevented him from using an ability. Now the purple's invaded, and this is the LG I was hoping for a little bit more so now. They've not focused on Rowe and Deathwalker at all, but they've just out-rotated LG to the, out-rotated PK to this left-hand side.
They are very low though, so they're going to try to run away, adapting, making his way towards Snoopy. I think he has Blink available.
It's just outside of threshold range of giving adapting the vision you'd expect from that passive of his, and the ability to sense death and blood is what we're talking about there. Because when you get under the threshold, he gets bonus mobility, which is always a scary thing to have to deal with. Good poke out of Vogue though, and Snoopy still hanging around here, trying to soak up some creeps before he has to return to base.
He wants to finish off that Transcendence very badly as he backs. I think he's waiting for a little bit of gold. No, he actually can't even finish it yet, so that timing is definitely not where he wanted it to be. Xaliea though, trading out ultimates with Rowe.
And Rowe not actually trading his ult, funny enough. He's going to hold on to it. They didn't really panic. He realized he could weather the storm of that ultimate. Xaliea just tries to get a bit of zone work, I guess, with the blue buff to be secured by Lasbra on that right-hand side. Going back to the dual lane real quick, love Vote's itemization choices here. Just because he's against this assassin in the lane and a warrior in Eonic that's going to be running at him. He's gone for a much more defensive approach.
Now, normally when you see Jade Emperor's Crown, you understand why, right? Because it's going to be against Snoopy.
Wait a second. The ultimate's down for Xaliea, and now he's under pressure as Rowe's there with the damage too. And Xaliea can't do anything about that without his ultimate being available. Really nice time gank from PK as Adapting swoops over.
This has always been curious. When I see ultimates being wasted earlier than the fights actually happen, I'm looking back to that one on Xaliea. I'm looking back to Deathwalker using Desert Fury in mid. I'm looking also back at Joshy in the last game when he was playing the Thoth, trying to steal away that red buff. Yeah. There are some things you can try to do PvE-wise, but you got to anticipate these ganks.
Snoopy was flanking around towards this red buff. It is spawning now, and this is LG trying to get aggressive in a 4-on-3. Vote still under his tier 1 tower. EmilZy being pressured, rooted in place, ult himself very early. Adapting that took a bit of poke damage from Joshy there as EmilZy's ult did go off and revive him. Adapting blinks into turn around and will find the kill onto Snoopy. Now it's Lasbra under pressure as Deathwalker up downs with the ult with the jump and puts the pressure on. Rowe even rotates in, and this is cleanup crew in Pittsburgh Knights of Jungle.
Knock up going through Rowe, making the impact on the spit. Gonna be an easy goal. Fury Xaliea nowhere to be found.
No, he went straight back to lane, and now this rotation is paying dividends for PK even more so. Goal Fury gonna go down. And that was LG with a good pick in the jungle. They just continue to pressure too much. And Adapting's blink onto Snoopy just turned it around.
That's how LG actually lost that first game, was they overcommitted onto EmilZy's Khepri. And then this third game as well, they're overcommitting it to it yet again. I'm a little surprised to see it, but it is still an early Khepri. But how far away he got between that purple buff and the tier 2 tower allowed the counter rotations from PK to clean up. Rowe made that rotation without teleport.
Oh, Adapting versus Snoopy is an interesting fight there, but Adapting focused mainly on securing the purple buff and stripping more experience away. EmilZy caught in the jungle though. He was coming in deep to help out Adapting if he needed it, and now the chase is on. Lasbra and Eonic with good CC to control, but a great pillar from Deathwalker. We're giving a bit of separation. Desert Fury to secure the buff, and wisely
He
so.
got it.
He will secure the red buff there. Eonic still went to pressure Deathwalker for the moment. I'm not so sure if it's the wisest idea with everybody else falling back.
I love that play from Deathwalker there, but yet again, LG trying to find something there. I like the idea of going for the red buff, but to not reset it. Like, you see and hear the Desert Fury just walk away from the circle.
Well, so far, 7 kills to 7. Gold lead of around 2,000 here for Pittsburgh Knights. Both junglers been very involved in the action too. Obviously, the Cabrakan and the Thanatos, two different styles of gods, but both making impacts.
Almost the same exact slash line as well, Adapting with a 1-level lead thus far. It's a good pacing now with this hybrid defense style. Warrior's Blessing into the Void Shell. This is kind of like Season 3 style from Variety in the solo lane playing Thanatos.
The problem is, though, is that 4 of these kills that LG have found so far have been towards this Khepri. And the window on killing a Khepri is going to start to fall off soon. He's only level 8, so he's still susceptible for the time being. But 1 or 2 more items, and this is a trickier task to bring down this bug.
And the way he's trying to power curve EmilZy by rushing the Sovereignty right now, and realizing team fights are prevalent at this stage where you don't have time to go for stacking on the Gauntlet of Thebes. So having the HP 5 and the physical protection.
Blink from Lasbra catches Adapting under so much pressure, but ults very early on in the sky. He could dunk down if he wants to. He's thinking about it. Instead, he's going to fall back, and that puts more pressure onto PK to run away. Desert Fury from Deathwalker, though, half health Snoopy, but round the corner comes Xaliea. Deathwalker going to get the ult from EmilZy, though, to try and stay alive. Xaliea waiting it out nicely. Cancels the jump opportunity, if it was even there, with a nicely timed silence, and Adapts on the backside, tried to get back involved. Instead, he needs some help. He gets it.
The heal so good. Rowe gonna clean up Eonic as well. There goes the abduct onto Lasbra. Rowe trying to shut down Xaliea from dashing away. Couldn't intercept it that time around, but getting something out of nothing. It was PK that lost Deathwalker first.
Yeah.
But then they just get 3 with Rowe's rotation.
Really good turnaround there from PK, if I'm more honest, especially when Adapting's ult has just been used defensively.
Yeah.
They turn it around the right opportunities. Xaliea gets into the fray and gets a fantastic pick, but credit where it's due to Rowe's rotation as well that allowed them to get back into that and get himself involved.
A very important play for PK because it was LG making the offensive plays all the time. And this is a momentum shift now where LG, I don't think is going to be looking for anything aggressively, but that window of late game is not as good. Actually, it should be better now that I'm looking at it more.
LG's is better, right?
Yeah, this Amaterasu set combination should outplay the late game from PK. They just need to now look for the farm instead, but there's going to be some level disparities.
The only magical damage they do have, though, is on Lasbra on the Cabrakan. And I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing this damage Cabrakan being picked up rather than maybe a tankier version. He needs that burst. Abduct on Joshy, forces the beads. Lasbra's health bar is gone. He at least got the ultimate off beforehand, and an Arctin's quick up down will end the life of Eonic. And this could now open up a Pyromancer.
Wow, PK just can't be stopped, it feels like. Great rotations from Rowe yet again. 4 players strong on the right side of the map, and there's nothing to do on the left. Like, the Fury was already down 4 minutes ago.
And now with that being down, I actually for a second thought they might go for Fire Giant there. We saw any members being on the left. Snoopy's looking to try and gank Vote around the back. Or just proxy farm the wave. Joshy now making a rotation too. Meanwhile, the rest of PK have just started to come back towards the mid lane. Except for Deathwalker, who's on that right-hand side, helping Rowe bring down the Tier 1 tower.
Don't worry, Hindu. We'll see Fire Giant in about 5 minutes or so. Same way we saw it in games 1 and 2. That same exact window. Deathwalker trying to work on, I'm assuming, chin size after he has the Transcendence completed. His playstyle on this Anhur has been very aggressive. Game 1 was a little weird when he jumped into the action that one time trying to save Vote on the Poseidon, but Game 3 he slowed it down. He's playing further away and just allowing the Desert Fury to do the work for him.
Normally at this point, though, I mean, we could see the chin size, but Atti's been something that a lot of players have been going to. If they've been in that middle lane with the Transcendence, sort of an old school throwback. At the same time, he's also Anhur, so Executioner is always a potential option.
You might want Executioner earlier rather than later because of that damage burst, but not having lifesteal against a set is hard, right? Like, you're going to get dove. You want that extra proc.
Gold Fury started up here by Pittsburgh Knights very quickly. Oni Fury, I should say. And that's going to put a little bit more pressure onto the laning phase of LG. And we were just saying, you know, LG's composition, it's good. They have a chance to win this. But PK have just answered back in this middle game area now. I'm a little bit concerned if you're an LG fan.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Hindu. And it's not as though LG aren't getting the kills. They have 9 of them. But it's just about how they're getting the other things outside of it. The buff and fades have been a little weird where they're grouping up too deep into the heart of PK's jungle. They're not really identifying where these rotations are coming from. That one lazy back from Snoopy, I still got to reflect back on that when adapting rotated to get that early double kill.
And it did allow Thanatos to just pick up a bit more momentum in this game as it continued on. Also, the fact that Snoopy, even though he's been involved in 5 kills, hasn't got a killing blow. They do add up. He only going to blink in early there, gets the beads out of Deathwalker, and the ultimate too. Deathwalker on his last legs, but gets an ult out of EmilZy. Rowe once again with the World Serpent. It's causing so many problems, and Lasbra's about to get dunked by Adapting and does. Another kill into the bank for PK. And Adapting going to be chased by Xaliea, but blinks away from the ultimate. And now it's Snoopy on the backside who gets abducted by EmilZy and forced to beads. But the Kingslayer's causing problems. Not enough to slow down PK, whose death ball is causing so many issues.
Oh, Snoopy barely walking away by the skin of his teeth. Now PK can easily run it down any lane that they want after that one. That play from LG, it was just all over the place. I like the engage from Eonic, but his teammates were just too far away to follow up from it, right? He's going to go down to a whole bunch of CC. Lasbra as well. Didn't even have time to really use Purification Beads. This is one under-leveled Cabrakan, only level 12 compared to Adapting's 15. Really surprised also that Snoopy was able to survive as long as he did, considering how far away his teammates were.
It's just a rough situation for LG to be in now, because I think all these kills going to Lasbra may have been a deficit to him and been a bad thing, because he's not shared the gold around as much as you would have liked. Sure, it's fine for anyone on the team to get a kill, but if you can give it to the carries to an extent, like the First Blood and such, it would have really added up. Sometimes, you can't help that being the case. But others, you'd hope for the best.
It was the start, right? Like his early blink level 1, level 2 engage onto that long lane. It wasn't him trying to set himself up, right? It was about trying to shut down Vote, get Snoopy more comfortable on this set. But this whole set play from LG, whether it's in the solo lane or the long lane, isn't doing much in this mid to late game process yet.
PK are just really showing they're comfortable to play against the set. They've left it up multiple times in this series, 3 times to be exact. And LG have happily taken the pick, but they've just not made enough work of it more than anything else. The solo lane didn't work out against those tankier targets. Sure, he could free farm for the most part, But when it got to the team fight stage, Xaliea couldn't make anything happen. And now in this laning phase, Snoopy, sure, he had a potent laning phase at the beginning, but look at the level discrepancy between him and Vote now.
Yeah, he was spoon-fed that start from Lasbra, but yet again, just couldn't get red buff invades, couldn't get the purple buff invades. The calls from LG are aggressive, but it's almost recklessly aggressive where they're just overextending. So it's PK now with this very comfortable lead, with the game lead just one more away from closing it out.
Best series I've seen out of Adapting for a minute, but it's starting to get back to the world champion-esque Adapting that we've seen before. And now he's going to hunt down Snoopy on this left-hand side. It was proxy farming. Snoopy going to try and get away as fast as his legs can carry him. But Vote was just waiting around the corner, so a very easy pickup of a kill for PK that could potentially open the door for a nice fight or even a couple of towers down this left-hand side.
I definitely think that could be the case. 40 seconds down for Snoopy, but instead gonna back, spend the golden hand coming through from Vote. Finishing off that Soul Reaver, working for more penetration. Probably Spear of Desolation is what I'm expecting.
Could be a chance for a steal from Eonic over the wall with the pen if he can land this perfectly. Nope, not this time around. Impale was good. The tailor from Deathwalker, and now with that Abduct coming into play, Eonic under pressure, ults early on and wisely so. Gets hit by the scythe. The pillars are good, but not good enough to stop him. Execute threshold is there for a second until Eonic heal back up, and now Adapting's ultimate will be just used to reposition.
Definitely needed that healing. He was under execute threshold for like maybe half a second, but Adapting wasn't in the sky then.
The problem is that Adapting could be in the sky because he was the one that threw the scythe to get him that low, funny enough.
Yes.
Otherwise, if he would have got up earlier, he may not have had the opportunity, but then he would have been in an awkward spot when LG were there to try and reinitiate and save the day. 15-9 and at 20 minutes in. Goal leads at 7,000 here. More importantly, it's an experience difference. Over 10,000 is a lot to talk about.
LG have to reconsider how they're going to start approaching these games because they have the great early game starts.
It's picks and bans.
And they can't do anything in the mid game. Picks and bans does matter. I hate the fact that all 3 games, LG were on the order side. After losing game 1, you would think they would go chaos. After losing game 2, it's like, where's the adjustments there? Like, look at what PK wants to do and then try to adapt to them. But instead, LG are kind of sticking to their guns, which I respect, don't get me wrong. But it's not working out for them, though.
No, I agree. And I think the one thing that you can say about competitive games overall is if there's a new member on the team, you want to try and expose them and see what they can play. I don't think they've really paid attention to Rowe in the solo as much as they should have. And I don't think they've really put any pressure on Deathwalker in this mid lane. Now, though, EmilZy with the abducts onto Lasbra will get a bit of separation from Eonic there in the transformations. The dance of the Primal Fury will begin. LG need to defend this, but they need a good fight this time round. Who's the priority target for them to take out here, Toli?
From LG onto PK, it's got to be Vote, right? Like, you don't want to deal with that consistent Merlin damage. It's actually going to be the Divine Ruin coming through for Vote. I like the anti-heal option there. Amaterasu is going to be annoying, as is Snoopy on the set.
Fury started up, Fury popped as well, sorry, Frenzy popped as well, and the Primal Fury goes down in seconds for PK. Xaliea has to dash away, and the pressure's over around the Fury, but it's at a deficit yet again of LG.
Yeah, they're just constantly making the plays happen as LG failed to react properly. They're just waiting for PK to mess up, but the way PK have been playing this entire set, it doesn't have much wiggle room for you to poke those holes into their offense.
And the one thing that we saw, the early kills that we saw out of LG was towards the Khepri, but EmilZy's not died in a good 10 minutes now, and he's past that point of being able to be picked as easily.
Upgraded Sunder and the Shell, finishing off the Relic Dagger. EmilZy, imaginative, a little bit, creative in some of his choices.
I do think the Sunder's really beneficial here against some of the tankier, frontline targets. He gets rid of Eonic and he gets rid of Xaliea very, very quickly. Especially when you can think about the root and the abduct, it really does allow you to set it up easily.
As long as you can root into Sunder, into abduct, Eonic should fall very quickly. Might fall faster than he can even get off the heal from the 9 turns blessing.
With that then, everybody falls back from LG towards the base. Tier 1 tower on the left-hand side falls for Vote as Adapting strips away the purple in the jungle. No attention paid yet to the Fire Jam. You see a lot of pings all of a sudden going down through the jungle of PK. Looks like they're going to be heading over there soon. They don't have many wards in inventory, though. Deathwalker just with 1 single sentry. I say that as 2 more members go back to base and picks them up too, so it definitely is going to be the cause here. Start to set up for this Fire Giant fight.
I like Adapting's build, honestly. This reminds me of the Season 1 Worlds meta, where the tank Thanatos was a thing. The dirty bubble build.
Was that Season 1? I think it was like
Season 2.
Yeah, it was Season 2.
Yeah.
bubble build, something that was to be spoken of and hopefully never seen again, but it seems to be on the rise. Just a little bit of protection this time. Not as bad as it used to be.
Oh yeah, with Spirit's Robe and all that shenanigans.
Good blink from Lasbra to avoid the root. EmilZy still giving chase, but Lasbra will be safe as he falls back. Snoopy has managed to wrap around the back here of PK, but there's nothing really up in the jungle to do. He's just going to try and hover and wait for PK to maybe start the FG. All the while he's doing this, though, he's not really finding any additional farm. He doesn't need the experience, but the gold is still impactful for his build.
He is 4.5 items deep, trying to finish off another item, but PK going to start up this Fire Giant. LG are completely unaware.
No, they are, but the problem is in comes Snoopy to the backline, looking at Vote and Deathwalker or the Fire Giant. PK taken already. And Snoopy now in, looking at Vote. Deathwalker, though, has already used the Desert Fury and killed Eonic in the sky. Adaption's just waiting for a low health target. If he doesn't find one, he may just go for a stun on Snoopy and does just that. The Scythe, after the fact, destroys his life as Deathwalker picks up a kill on Lasbra. Xaliea can only run away as fast as his Amaterasu can with that dash back to the safety of the tower, but adapting zooming because he's Thanatos.
So fast, he couldn't get away despite having all that mobility on that aura. There was a little bit of a slower Fire Giant than the previous 2 games, but PK are now primed and ready to maybe even close out the game with this push.
I expected more from LG here today in this set against Pittsburgh Knights. I thought PK may have more teething problems. This team of PK have only been scrimming as a 5-man unit for the past week, and already looks like they're going to be putting LG to bed in 3 straight games.
Looking like it. A little conservative to still go for the middle Phoenix. I like this play as PK get the right side, transitioning over to the mid lane. Hard for Eonic and Joshy to defend on their own.
And that Phoenix will fall down, and to the right-hand side is, well, the Phoenix is already down there, so why not go get speed and buy some items. 25 minutes in, PK looking like a solid performance out of them here today.
Oh, definitely going to be the case. They should be feeling very happy with this roster swap being this successful without even dropping a game. And even during all 3 games, like, sure, the early game might have been a little bit cleaner, but it doesn't matter when you're playing this clean in the mid to late game, not throwing it at all, not going for the Titan, and even though there was only 2 members up from LG.
A lot of credit to Rowe, though, as we've been tuning in with him too. Coming in as a coach to the solo lane experience. He was a former competitive player for Australia, and I know people may meme the Oceania scene, but he was spoken about a lot back in the day when he was playing, about being the heart and soul of some of the teams he was on for the Dire Wolves. A lot of people expected him to pop, but unfortunately he just walked into some mountains in Europe and North America of teams, not just individuals. But now he's got a chance to shine for his region now and show what Oceania really have in the Pro League of all things.
Oh, this has been looking like night and day from PK in their last 2 games up against E United, where they lost that set, or like 0-3 was very uncharacteristic of them. But now to see how they are playing here, they have a new dynamic, a new synergy going through. Everyone just feels like they're more comfortable adapting to make these aggressive plays on the Mercury and the Thanatos. A little bit different from what I'm used to seeing out of him.
I'll be honest though, I'm not going to get my hopes up too much just yet. This is Luminosity after all, who have struggled most of the season. Maybe if they can do this against United, it could be a bit of a different story. Lasbra to the backline, tries to get involved, but Vote has already destroyed Snoopy. Xalia's at half health and forced away his ultimate on cooldown, as is every ultimate on LG. The left-hand Phoenix is the last thing standing, as Adaption's going to run Xaliea down like a dog in the backside. The Phoenix will fall, and Adaption should be able to find this execute. Nice shoot from Xaliea, though.
Just delaying the inevitable, probably.
Yeah, it will eventually happen. Meanwhile, PK not paying attention to that fight. Instead, they want to kill the Titan. Lasbra under pressure yet again. He's a ton of damage from the arcane explosion.
Oh no.
Out from Vote. And then Eonic turned on for Adaption to get a double kill. Could be a triple. Joshy will jump back to the fountain. And that's it. 3 games. And they all go to Pittsburgh Knights. LG have work to do.
Making it look very clean. Unfortunate for LG as they get completely ran over by PK. A lot of credit to them, honestly. I like Rowe's transition into the solo lane. Deathwalker was very loose on some of those Desert Furies. Now, it is a shorter cooldown, so I understand that whole idea, but he wasn't really pressured. Neither was Rowe. LG didn't come in here with a clear game plan that I saw work.
I think they expected their mid lane and solo lane to just be good enough, with the fact that they've got more experience there to weather the storm of PK, and then pressure duo lane a lot. They pressured the duo lane, it found some payoff for them. but then it turned back around.
No, they didn't. Then the reason why Snoopy likes to run the set in the long lane is to look for those kills in the 1v1. It was successful against Team Rival back in the MSI when he was playing for Armada, but the way that worked out for Armada was because it wasn't just Snoopy getting the kills against Arkle, that early kill on Panda as well, but LG didn't be aggressive everywhere in this game. They were only aggressive in the long lane.
Great performance on the PK, and that on your screen there, Adaption had a fantastic performance there. Some reminiscence there of his performances at the World Championships in previous seasons. We'll see if Adaption's back to his best.
It feels that way, honestly, between the Thanatos and the Mercury. Getting a Respect Mercury ban in the first round of drafts, not something we see every day.
What does LG need to do, though, Tolly? What's the difference maker there for them now?
Just go second pick.
Is that what you think
that
it is?
simple. Just start countering what your opponents are throwing at you. That's going for first pick in second game and third game was a little weird for me.
Okay, well, let's get it over to the desk to break down that game and that set.
Break it down here, that's what we do, but Pittsburgh Knights already broke down Luminosity. 3 games and 3 wins, just like that. And frankly, it's all King Kenneth. Aggro to break it down with me. And as I kind of said, man, this was vintage Knights. Whatever you want to call this team around adapting, this is vintage.
I think that there's been so much emphasis on team play this year. We forget the impact that one player can have.
Yeah.
Make no mistake, adapting won this set for PK. Not single-handedly, but he didn't need a whole lot of help. I mean, and that's no discredit to the rest of PK. I don't think that anyone should feel like, you know, oh, he's getting all the credit and no one else deserves any. PK did what they needed to do, and sometimes you don't need to do a whole lot, you know? It's when you go home and I've got some chores to do and someone else already did all of them, you don't have a lot to do.
Look at that, adapting kills Vamana. Yeah, Rowe's there, sure. Adapting comes through, yeah, big ultimate from Deathwalker. Adapting kills Snoopy, and then knockup, sure. Adapting kills Lasbra there, Vote gets last hit. This is just Kenneth rolling back the clock and going, all right, the boys, sometimes I have to win the game. And that's exactly, he rose to the occasion, which I think is really what I want to get at. Oh my God. Because we see other teams have star players. And like you said, team focus. But sometimes you got to know you're the star player and you've got to rise to this occasion. Big monumental game. You kick out a player from your team and you replace them with a coach. I mean, I'm getting up on stage saying you have a 0% chance to do anything of note. This is how you both take the set and make a statement. 12, 2, and 11 for adapting here in game number 3, putting the team on his back and then some.
I mean, Rowe had a great set. I don't think he died more than once or twice the entire set, if he even did, now that I think about it. He played really, really well. He looked comfortable on 2 different gods. That's important, but didn't have to show too much. Kind of stayed at home with that Yorm pick in game 3, which I think makes a whole lot of sense. This is a better look for PK. They're going to have a tougher test. I think LG learned a couple things. They've got to find a way to have a little bit better picks and bans. They've got to play around that Khepri a little bit better. That is going to be a problem pick against this team. You can tell by the way they're initiating these team fights. That draft there, I think, needed a whole lot of work. It had a lot of CC, but how do you kill the front line with that draft? I mean, you just don't. 2 Jade Emperors, one on Rowe, one on Vote. Those 2 are unkillable. LG has a lot of work to do still, but that's okay. I mean, they are going to placements. They don't need to win right now.
Here's my question, though, as we evaluate Pittsburgh Knights after this one. You know, Rowe coming out in the solo lane. The question I asked you guys is, how real is it? Because right now, it looks pretty damn real. Well, ask the man himself, Rowe standing by for the post-game interview.
Rowe and adapting. Rowe from jungler to the solo lane, now back into the SPL. Got to ask you, how is that transition feeling for you?
That's fun. I mean, it's easy as well. I mean, coaching was difficult. I think playing is easier, especially when you have 4 good players around you. I mean, I've got nothing to complain about.
Our first real question, boys. Obviously, you've only been practicing for a week together. Adapting, I'm coming to you. How is the team dynamic doing with you all now? With the changes happening, Deathwalker to mid, Rowe in the solo lane. Sure, you get the 3-0, but how's the practice been?
Practice has been really good, actually. Surprisingly good. Going into practice, I thought we were just going to get wiped by everyone. But that hasn't been the case. It's been going really well, so I'm very, very happy. And more than anything now, like, we're all very good at kind of communicating what we think is good and, like, agreeing and all getting on the same page. You know, like, sometimes we can take, like, a team fight in scrims. 5 of us die, and then we're like, oh, well, at least we did it together, you know. And, like, there's no one's upset, and then we just grow from it. And that's been so productive.
This set definitely felt like night and day difference between the E-United set versus this set. Then again, it is LG we're talking about. What is some of your realistic expectations moving on towards the future?
So we have, I think, like 2.5, 3 weeks now until we have Splice and Renegades back-to-back in the same week. That's obviously going to be the hardest week, I think, of this whole split. So it'll be a real test for us because it is pretty close to Worlds, but again, we have 3 weeks to prepare for it, so we'll see what happens.
That's your question, really, is to do with the fact that, well, is it got easier for you guys because the pressure's kind of off now with these roster changes? Because since the start of the year, you guys were touted to be the #1 team, like an all-star European roster with the Australian mind as a coach.
But now he's Australian, but sure.
Super Australian. Well, you are now. You've won a game. That doesn't happen.
Undefeated.
With how it's been, though, does this feel like a bit of relief for you guys to just play your game and not have to worry, be expecting to win everything? Or do you still have that standard?
I think, for me, I don't care as much about like the pressure, but I know it's still nice, and it's kind of nice going into a game and not really like if you lose, you feel like you're not gonna get roasted forever.
Yeah.
Whereas if you win, people are like, oh wait, they won. Okay.
It's kind of the opposite for me.
So
I feel like if we lost, I would get roasted, but yeah.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, it's a lot less pressure, and like we're actually the underdogs now, which I guess probably works in our favor because it probably does relieve a bit of pressure, and if you lose, like people won't be as surprised or upset about it.
Rowe, that's a real question for you. Have you got any support going on from home at the moment? Because obviously you're the first Oceania player to really play in the Pro League.
Yeah.
Good performance today out of you. How's the fans at home been for you?
I haven't been able to check my phone since the games, but like a ton of support when we announced it, and as well a ton of support from the SPL community as well. There's been like pretty much no doubts. There's just been like the only doubt there's been is actually on Adrian and mid, which I think is ridiculous, first of all. But it's just all support, no doubtings at all.
Absolute congratulations on your performance today. 3-0 against LG. See you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.